be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
George!
Hey, Joe. How are you? I'm still stacking paper. I'm trying to make it stick. It's not working. I think it's fucking stupid. So I'm going to stop. That's the last time I'll fucking stack any papers. It's fucking dumb.
Damn it, I was just getting used to it.
Yeah, I figure something else out. How the fuck are you, man?
I am great. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm so good right now. It's not even funny. And you know what I've got? I've got an extra special cup of BlameJoe tonight. You know? And I got something pretty amazing to blame you for at some point.
Really?
So fuck yourself. How about that?
Cheers to that.
I love you so much, Joe. And I'm happy
you,
that we're here, and I'm happy that the Brigade is here, and I'm happy that we're doing this. And man, we got one hell of a fucking show tonight, don't we?
You think? I mean, between ours and then David's afterwards, I mean, this is kind of epic.
Right? I know. David's show tonight is going to be fucking stellar. And our show tonight has been 11 years or more in the making.
Damn.
What do you have to say about that?
I'd say a lot of people are curious about what you're talking about.
There's been so much fun and buzz and stuff on Facebook about everything. It's been a good time, man. I can't thank the Brigade enough. Like, look at these people already showing up. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you.
This is great. Look, Scotty's here. Sean, what's up? Jack, Lance, you got in tonight. Hopefully, happy to see you, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Libby.
We got a whole bunch of people who like fucking with you, Lance. Libby, how's it going? Libby and I had a phenomenal conversation this week.
Cool.
And Matt was there, and it was an awesome talk. So I think there's some really great stuff coming from Libby and Matt over at Libmatic, man. It's going to be great. Is that Itai?
It is.
Itai, what's up, man? Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. I'm sorry Facebook said fuck off forever, buddy.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
So
got Dino,
what's up? Rob Alicia. Rob Alicia is a phenomenal writer out of New York that I've been talking to for a long time. There's going to be great things coming down that road too. So I'm really happy he's here. Let's see. Sean, don't tell Lance. So y'all really don't believe Lance doesn't know what's up, right? I'm just going to drop that right now. This is why I love Lance, and this is why Lance is an amazing addition and part of the Brigade. Lance and Samantha with the Wagner Wiles. It's a wonderful show. They're a wonderful couple, and they're wonderful people. But I will say this. I promise Lance doesn't know everything. So it's kind of fun to pick and choose. Hey, that's my gorgeous, beautiful wife, Rebecca Romero.
Oh, wow. Look at that picture, man.
Yeah, she changed it up. I think she's watching with our son, Seth, tonight, who just turned 16, which is pretty cool. He's been making some amazing stuff in the wood shop. He's been turning out some knife handles that are like next level shit.
I saw it. It was freaking amazing. Right?
It was good stuff. Damascus blade, no power tools, all hand carved grips and everything. What's up, Abram? Man, I'm coffeeed up. What do we all want to talk about tonight? You want to just fuck around, hang out?
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe we should do like the housekeeping stuff first, right? Like, what do we got housekeeping wise? What do you want to pop up on screen? Hit me. Dealer's choice.
Damn demanding.
Dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice. Let's see. Might as well go with the old coffee first because everybody loves coffee.
Everybody loves coffee. BuyMeACoffee.com/RP Indie Brigade. Look, we've got a merch store. We've got amazing merch, but we also have this BuyMeACoffee.com thing. If you don't see any merch you like, or you don't want to jump in on the Scare Tactical line and help out veterans, or maybe the quarantine is just being hard on you, but you still love the Brigade and you love what we do, and you like spending time with us, and maybe you've learned some stuff from us, just buy me a coffee. BuyMeACoffee.com/RP Indie Brigade. Boom.
Or
helps us keep the lights on, helps us keep the servers running. Or you can go to RomeroPictures.com. Look at this. I'm just rolling with the dealer's choice here. RomeroPictures.com/merch. We've got some great stuff on there, all designed by Ian Steyer, the gentleman responsible for all of our logos in the rebranding and the big rebranding of 2020. We've got great stuff, hats, T-shirts, mugs, the whole shebang. And then we've got a great line over there called Scare Tactical. Everything there was designed by Ian Steyer as well. And a portion of every sale of the Scare Tactical stuff goes toward helping us grow and build the Veterans Compound into what it needs to be and what I've believed it needs to be for a long time. Thanks to DEF CON 1, we were able to raise enough money to do all the corporate filings and all the legal stuff and all that mumbo jumbo. That's it. DEF CON Heavy Metal, Romero Pictures, DEF CON 1. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was a little thing called the first online fan convention ever. Yeah, that was us. So we raised enough money to do all the legal shit around the Veterans Compound, get all the filings done, and so we're officially a company, we're officially a nonprofit organization, and all of that other stuff. But beyond that, every Scare Tactical sale, a portion of those proceeds go to help us develop the Veterans Compound. What's up, Max?
And if you didn't notice, Lance was actually wearing his shirt today, and I think Sean said he was also.
Yeah, it's a good day for it. I'm not wearing mine because it's dirty.
I'm not wearing mine because somebody hasn't put my order in for anything yet, so I'll just leave it at that.
I'm just going to have a sip of delicious coffee.
And it's blocked.
I'm still having coffee. So these are all of our shows except for the end of the night, which I still have to do. And David Madison, I apologize to you for that. It is on me. I take complete and total responsibility for it. But these are the other shows. This is the Indie Brigade right here. We've got the show, of course, you're watching now, which is Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with me, your host, George C. Romero, and my ever-present and faithful producer extraordinaire, Joe Ridgely. Beyond that, we've got the Drone Cav with Terry Gerald. If you ever needed to learn anything about drones, how to use them to make indie films, how to maybe up your production value by spending a very small amount of money on a drone, and then how to use that drone, Terry's your guy. Go over to the Drone Cav. Make sure you follow those videos. He's dropping insane knowledge for absolute free for any indie filmmaker who wants to learn about it. We've got the Nasty Nation. Actually had some very interesting talks about that today, Joe, which I haven't even had time to fill you in on. But I think everybody can expect a pretty interesting paradigm shift from the Nasty Nation. We've got the Wagner Wiles with Lance and Samantha Wagner. I already talked about that. But, man, these guys, if you haven't watched the Wagner Wiles yet, you're missing out. They're such a beautiful couple, and they're such beautiful people. You really got to get in on that. And then, of course, we've got The Devil is Into Detail. That is the place where we let our graphic designer, Ian Steyer, run wild. We turn his brain loose, and he gets to say whatever the fuck he wants to say about whatever the fuck he wants to say it about. And it's really great. It's a lot of times it's about the sort of the creative mechanism. And if you haven't read it yet, you need to get over there and read it. And then last but not least, we've got David Madison's End of the Night, which comes on after this. So all you have to do is really watch the Indie Brigade and then stick around for David Lee Madison's End of the Night afterwards. It starts at 11 p.m. every Friday night, and he has amazing guests and amazing people, and he's such a better person than me. So all you have to do is just show up here and watch his show. And then finally, Joe, there's one more thing on that graphic. Yeah, right there, dead middle, bottom. Boom. Hashtag BlameJoe, the only message bigger and more important than the message of the Indie Brigade. BlameJoe. It's a global message. If anything is going wrong in your life, if you pissed off your significant other, if you fucked up at work, if you wrecked the car, anything terrible, if you caused, COVID-19, just blame Joe.
Doesn't want to come off of there for some reason.
Let's see who else showing up. Terry, yay, drones. Ron, what's up, Ron? Scott Lake. Best drone sequence. That's actually a pretty good idea. Good to see you, buddy. Man, this is great. People are showing up. I'm kind of just rolling with this for a few minutes, Joe. What else do we need to talk about? We should talk about Avail TV. You got that handy?
I do have that handy. I have everything handy.
So, Avail TV. If you all aren't familiar with Avail TV, it is a streaming app available on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Apple TV Plus. Download it and look for the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade channel on Avail TV. We have our own channel. I think they're up to 16 episodes on it. Avail TV is a brand new platform. They're great guys. They're doing great things over there, and we're proud to have our own branded channel on there. So if you miss any of these episodes and you feel like catching them on your big screen, download the app, dial it up, whatever you do. What do you do with apps? Tap it up. I don't know. What do you do? Like, you
click
the app, look for us, and watch our shit. You can go back and watch some of the early ones when it was a fucking train wreck.
The early one should be a drinking game, in my opinion.
Man, it's been a fun journey. What's up, Brandy? It's been a fun journey, hasn't it, Joe?
Yeah, it has.
Let's reflect for a moment. Is there any more housekeeping, or is that it? Because you know what? There is one more thing. Do you have that trailer?
Trailer. Yes, hold on. I was looking for. Everybody keeps saying Tiffany, but I don't see Tiffany commenting. So apparently Tiffany's watching also.
What's up, Tiffany?
Let's see.
I can't wait to drop that news. Wait till everybody sees that thing.
Hold on a second.
You know,
all right.
That thing about that stuff.
Oh, the thing that Lance doesn't know about.
Well, yeah, nobody knows about this yet, actually.
Oh, okay.
Except you. So, and some of
Joe
our guests
knows.
tonight. But, you know.
You ready for that trailer?
But Lance won't know. Yeah, I'm ready for the trailer. So basically the trailer is this. So there's a company, you guys, most of you watching have probably seen me all over Facebook this week. It's where, hey, there he is, right? Joe's pointing. I'm like, what are you pointing at, fucker? It's what's going on, brother? So it's is a good friend of mine. He's got one of the most amazing sort of like American hero small businessman stories of anybody I've ever heard. And he and his family own Catch Sitka Seafoods. You need to go and check this out. I've posted pictures. A bunch of people have been posting pictures. Sean Smithson is big into it. I'm telling you, like, just talking to Issam and hearing about his process and what he does is unbelievable. I love him so much. We've undertaken a couple of things with Issam and Catch Sitka, one of which we are dedicated to helping him promote his business because of a lot of reasons. But really, I mean, it's a true success story. It's a true American success story in the making. And so we promote him on every episode. You know, we're actually going to go make a documentary, but we're going to do it this season, but who knows now if people are going to be able to travel or film or any of that shit. So, what we've done is we've cut together just a little teaser, that we'd like to show every episode. And I think tonight's a good episode to show it. And then after that, we'll just reflect for a couple of minutes, Joe, because I want to get your opinion on something. So if you don't mind rolling that trailer.
I can definitely do that.
Teaser.
Boom. for some reason it goes black for an extra long time at the end. So
Yeah, I know, that's weird. Well, and the audio still sounds a little weird to me. It doesn't sound like that on my system or any other system of people who have had run it. So the audio still, it kind of dips down real low to real low levels and gets a little weird. So we got to
interesting.
But anyway, I'm telling you guys, the reason that Issam and Kat Sitka is they're here in the brigade and part of the brigade because they embody the true spirit of the Indie Brigade. Fuck everything and get it done in the face of mountains. You just move the world to get what you get to get done what you need to get done. And he's a shining example of that outside of our industry. And he's an amazing guy. So, anything you can do to help him, support him, spread the word, share his stuff, get it out there. He deserves to be out there big, wide, and in a hurry. Thank you, Evelyn. Max says, dang, now she wants to go fishing.
Yeah.
So, Joe, let's reflect for just a second because we should have a lobby full of people probably waiting to come up here.
Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you're kind of right.
So, when we started this, did you think that we'd be here right now? Did you think
no, when we first started talking in August, I knew cool things were going to happen, but like this, get the hell out of here.
It's crazy, right? So, all right, reflection over.
Damn, that was quick.
Yeah, well, it's fucking amazing, and you're amazing. And by the way, so this is the thing I want to blame you for.
Okay.
So let's just do this real quick. This is 11 years in the making in my life. What we're getting ready to talk about. And I got to say that it wouldn't be even happening if it hadn't been for you sending an email. Right? And I want to give you all that credit because you did it. So I blame you for everything amazing that's happening right now. So fuck you, Joe.
Well, I thank you, brother. That means the world. And it's been a great friggin' journey, and I can't wait to see what's in store next.
Yeah, me too. Let's bring up Matt.
Let's see. Which one is... No, that's not Matt. That's definitely not... There's Matt.
Yo.
Look what I'm wearing today for you. Oh, wrong side.
What does it say? Oh.
My heavy metal sweatshirt.
Nice.
What's up, man?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm all clean shaven, ready to go.
I love it. You also got like good lighting in there.
Yeah, I know. I've been fucking around. I'm a filmmaker, man. What do you? I
was asking Joe if you had made that fishing video trailer for them.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
You did?
Yeah. So.
Oh, well, I had told Joe in our private chat that if you had made it, I should start the idea of a George Romero cult. So now I feel like I have to start one.
I'm telling you, man, it's going to be an amazing experience going up there and shooting that documentary, right? Like Sitka, Alaska, one of the most beautiful cities on Earth.
That's pretty epic.
Issam gets to go and fish like every day of his life.
Isam, yes, I'm so excited because he said that there's going to be some in my house next week.
Yes, boom. Yeah, I've been sending Matt all the pictures and completely rubbing it in. So
I'm gonna make like sushi. I'm gonna make just like grilled salmon, steamed salmon. Oh
yeah, dude, your sushi is ridiculous. Your sushi is so. For those who don't know, we have this sort of food group, and and Matt and Tommy and I and a couple of other guys. Are constantly sending each other pictures and trying to just like make the other ones just ridiculously jealous, and it usually works. But I'm telling you, that sushi that you rolled, man, I can't even do that. I can't even come close to doing that. It's ridiculous.
It's honestly Alexis rolls all of it, so I can't even take the credit for rolling it. But I come up with the ideas for what goes in it. Yesterday we did steamed peppers, cucumber, cream cheese, crab, and dates.
Damn.
I don't know if I should be like jealous or angry that I missed it.
Yeah, no, it's the best. And when Tommy gets on, you'll see like, oh, it is my passion to just get him food jealous.
Yeah, I know.
That's really what keeps me going every day. You know, that's the driving force for me.
That's awesome.
Well, listen, you and I are just going to kind of run this tonight in kind of like a panel type thing. And, obviously we've got, probably one of the story, man. Tonight's episode and what we're here to talk about has been 11 years in the making of my life, right? So
what do fans know at this moment? What do fans know? People
not a fucking thing.
Amazing. That's fantastic.
So,
did you do your hair for this episode?
Long story short, I can't wear contacts, therefore I can't wear a hat right now. So
I don't understand the correlation, but okay.
I don't like wearing a hat with glasses.
Oh,
I get that.
Because of the.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, got it.
So,
Maybe we should just. Do you have any kid? Maybe they should just shave your head for you.
well, no, wait a minute. If you start the cult of George, that's something to consider.
He keeps threatening that he's going to shave it if we reach some milestone, and then we reach the milestone and he doesn't shave his head. And so, they're like empty threats at this point, man. I mean,
Well, we should make the threat like maybe you have to get an Indie Brigade tattoo on your forearm.
I'm down with that.
Because then you don't have to destroy the hair. Because I get it, right? Long hair to people like us, like it's our avatar, it's our Navi, it's like our connection to the universe.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength. I would be madder if someone cut my hair than really anything else. Like that's war words, If someone like comes behind me with a scissor, you better be willing to lay down your life.
I got a firstborn you can have first.
Exactly.
I kind of feel the same way. I feel the same way about this.
You do. That's why you shave it, because you know how violent you'd get if you had hair.
That's right. Yeah. That's
So,
okay, so let's get this thing going, man. So I want to do this as a panel, but kind of like we talked about, I'd like to really find the thread. Obviously, I want to make the huge announcement, because this is probably the biggest announcement of my entire professional life. So I would like to do that at some point. But I think I would love to get
in the waiting room
up here with us. What?
Who's in the waiting room right now?
Everybody else. I'd like to get everybody else up here.
Bring them in.
And introduce everybody.
any particular order?
Just bring them all in.
Any order you bring them in, I'm going to blame you for. So, go for whatever you like.
Fuck you, Joe.
Fair enough. All right, here we go. In order of how they appeared.
Joe.
Hey there.
Tommy. David.
Hello, gentlemen.
How are you guys?
Good, doing good.
How's everybody doing?
I'm waiting for Matt
Doing good.
to tell me what ridiculous thing his girlfriend is baking tonight.
It's also
Because
the
I know it's
weekend.
coming. I know I already started. I know you already started the food jealousy right in the beginning of the show. So I'm waiting for it. I'm gonna get a side text with a picture. It's gonna I know it's coming. So
I can't.
There's Lance. Hey, Lance.
I can't compete with David's constant cronut obsession now. He's taking that to a new level.
you asked for it though, and that's what you got.
Yeah, seriously.
You started
The level of show off.
Cronut 19.
Is there one? I thought you were reaching for one.
That would have been
I would have
There you
died.
go.
that would have been perfect.
And by the way, Joe, I gotta say thank you so much for really getting emotionally vested in fucking with Lance.
It's the least I could do as an honorary member to Indie Brigade.
For everybody watching, you guys are looking at probably one of the most amazing creative teams walking the earth today, minus the guy who's talking. We've got Mr. Matt Medney, the CEO of Heavy Metal Magazine, Joe Illidge, Dave Irwin, and Tommy Corial. And for those of you who don't know, see, I checked it before the show. I checked it in the tech check.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
They pronounce it in Italy. They pronounce it Coriale, but in America, for way too long, they butchered it, and it's Coriale. It's awful and boring.
I only go with Coriale.
I know, and I've never corrected you because I don't mind it. But you know,
And I did. I asked if how you wanted me to introduce you, as Coriale or Coriale.
I know.
So I mean,
It's beaten into me.
You missed your chance to rebrand right now.
I did. I fucked that up really bad.
Wow.
For those who don't know, Tommy is head of DIGA Studios. Joe Illidge, co-managing editor of Heavy Metal Magazine. I got that right, yes?
Yeah.
You did.
And David Irwin, chief creative overlord of Heavy Metal Magazine.
The coolest title in all of entertainment.
Right?
Seriously.
Greco's watching. He says, "What's up, guys? What's up?" Just saying some hellos here.
Mad respect to Richard Grieco.
Right? So he and I have been talking about something cool. I think you guys are really going to dig when we get it done. Something I don't think anybody's expecting from him, which is very cool. But anyway, I want to thank you guys all for being here tonight. Obviously, the reason that we're here is to drop. I've kind of spoken with all of you individually and as a group about just kind of how much this all means to me. And it all started because fucking Joe sent an email. Literally, Joe Ridgely sent an email about DEF CON 1, and now we're all sitting here about to talk about literally the largest project announcement of my entire life that I've been working on for more than a decade. And most people who are in the brigade know that the reason I've been working on it for so long is because depending on who you listen to out there, it's because I'm an asshole or I'm this or I'm that, but it's mainly just because I've refused to kind of falter in what I believed I was working on. And that came from the right place, that came from the right motivation, and that came from my heart. And that was something that I was never willing to falter on. And this is the only project in my entire career and life that I've ever felt that way about. And, right here tonight is the absolute proof that no matter what you're doing, no matter what anybody says to you, if you truly have something that you believe in, resolute, right? If your belief in something you're working on is resolute, stick to your guns, don't ever give up, and don't let anybody force you down a road that might not be right on any level, because at some point you eventually meet people who get it and get you and see what you're doing for what it is you're trying to do. And that's what everybody here tonight has seen. So I'd actually love it if you guys, Matt, maybe if you want to actually run with it and go ahead and make the announcement, since this is all because of you, I would be.
Oh no, this is because of everybody else, right? I'm just the excitable guy in the middle. but a lot of people had to say yes, so I don't want to take all the credit there, and a lot of people had to believe in it. And that, as I was telling you last night on text, it was as much as you and I created this instant kinship, the narrative amongst everyone was this made so much sense from the jump. And I guess I'll say it, and then we'll talk from there, is that Heavy Metal and DIGA Studios have had a partnership for the last almost 6 months, where we've opened basically Heavy Metal Studios, whatever you want to call it. And one of the newest projects that we're able to put on that slate is the Rise graphic novel series, and kind of scaling it from there and moving it up to animated show, live action show, movie, wherever it takes place. But the vision and the team and the pieces are in place now to kind of bring the, as I like to call it, the throne of zombieism back to where its rightful heir.
Boom.
Amen.
There it is.
There it is.
I sent this to Matt earlier, and I said, "Hey, I'm just kind of fucking around here because I'm like off in Fantasyland." And, but that's also the first time. Wait, put that back up. That's the first time that anybody else's logos have ever touched this project, and there have been some people who have tried with very nefarious motives And this is the first time. And like when I was putting these on here, I was almost getting choked up at my computer. There's so much catharsis in this for me as an artist. It's so fucking cool. So anyway, so there you go, The Rise. Boom.
I got to say, man, it is, besides being a ridiculous honor, it is super fucking cool to see the DIGA logo on that. I really just to add to what Matt said. I mean, I am so lucky that I got to meet Matt and be introduced to the heavy metal universe, and so that DIGA could start to build out, its vision, and to have this be one of the leaders on our slate is something I don't even think I envisioned to be able to happen as fast as it did. And Matt doesn't give himself enough credit for putting that together. But George, honestly, like the words you have put on paper and then meeting you and talking to you and also learning about what you're doing with the Indie Brigade and who you are as a man, I'm so honored and stoked to be in business with you and to be a partner. And I think that we are all destined to do some really great things together. And, when you start throwing guys like Joseph and David in the mix on top of it, and, some of the others that we're talking to be, creatives, I just think that this has legs like almost nothing else I've ever worked on before. So I really, I thank you for being a part of it. And I'm excited to be part of this announcement, guys.
Fuck yeah, man. Thank you. The honor is absolutely mine. It's crazy how quick and organic this happened, and just how easy it was when we kind of all got creatively on the same page. And then when Matt introduced me to and brought David and Joe into the mix, and then we started talking about how we're going to launch it through the comic, and then we started talking about like I'm getting to learn how comics are written from these two guys. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, no offense with my language, guys, but like to the Brigade, like this is unbelievable to me. I mean, we've got a group of people right here on this screen who are about to terraform an entire universe that I've been trying to build for 11 years, and it's just such the honor is all on me, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all seeing what I've been trying to do. And that said, like I said earlier, I don't want this to turn into like, hey, everybody, this is the greatest creative team in the world. Let's all talk about how awesome Rise is. I would like to turn it more into like, the value of developing this. And because, a lot of people watching and basically everybody here except Tommy has been on before, and we've talked about IP development. And I've wanted to kind of dive a little deeper into that, using Rise as sort of an example for the Brigade, because so many people out there in the Brigade have been following this project and know kind of the shit I've dealt with trying to get it to where we all are now. And so, I was hoping that maybe we could talk about, just sort of some learning points for some of these folks out there with regard to some of the stuff that I've delivered, to you guys, and like the kind of documents and the kinds of things that go into world building. And maybe how, I don't know, maybe like a case study or something. Again, I'm trying to do it all. I don't want anything to come off like I'm an asshole or anything. So yeah, I just want to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me jump in there for a second. I think there could be some interesting insight from Dave and Joe, because as much as in 2020 we look at some of the properties that they've touched when they were at them, and David even more so because he was at DC even before, and Dave and I talk about this all the time. A lot of those characters, Batman and Superman included, were not what they are today to the world, right? So building something that had a legacy, right, and then had kind of a downtime, and then bringing it back to prominence is actually like a very parallel path to something that those two guys have done already. And Dave, Joe, I mean, I would just love to hear a little bit about that from that point of view.
Well, I think the chief creative overlord should go first.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by all the noise out in New York. What was the question again, Matt?
I was.
I just didn't want all that noise of traffic coming by that end up here with it. But no. I got all the setup. But so talking about, I guess the I can start by saying that one of the important things about any intellectual property or anything that has a legacy is having to make sure that it brings relevancy to the current audience, to the present audience. Because if you don't do that, if you don't keep it relevant and constantly evolving to connect with today's audience and tomorrow's audience, then it becomes something like Popeye and Dick Tracy, which are great properties, but nobody wants them anymore. Or Peanuts, for example, because then Charles Schulz made it in his will not to let anybody take over, and that's been the death of the Peanuts property. So and I look at what your father created. I mean, he created the modern zombie. People forgot about the original zombie movies of the 40s, Universal and Luton, one of the great producers back then, and how zombies were something of a folklore and something of a religious origin from from Louisiana and such. But that was the term zombie up until your dad came along and changed it completely. Now, today, that's people only think of zombies from what your dad created. And what's really always interesting to me, because I always look at the masses, and I'm just trying to understand the masses. And but what your dad had put in place, people today actually believe that there could be a zombie apocalypse.
I know.
I mean, how crazy is that? I mean,
I know.
Yeah. So it's to me, it's very exciting to again, to work on with you and our team of taking something that's so ingrained in our pop culture and continuing your father's legacy and keeping it relevant, keeping it, I hate to say alive, but because it's kind of dead. it's an oxymoron, right? But yeah, it's about moving it, keeping it so that it continues to be relevant for not only today's audience and today's fans, but even tomorrow's.
Well, and David, you and Joe have more experience with legacies than than anybody I've ever met. And Matt, you are CEO of a legacy brand, and I think that this is an absolute perfect way to do this because it's nothing but respect to legacy, right? I mean, that's what it all is. And it's interesting building a legacy IP. Keeping it relevant is, to me, was one of the most interesting parts, but also not the hardest part. The hardest part for me was, I think, addressing the legacy itself, because when you have such legacies like you've dealt with and like Joe has dealt with and like heavy metal and like what my dad did and all of that stuff, there's so much to it. There's it's like if it were in a printed book, you couldn't ever close it or get to the end of it, right? There's so much to consider. Yep. And I know, Joe, you have a lot of experience with putting stuff up on boards on the wall and trying to figure that out. How do you kind of look at that and say, what's the important stuff to pick out first? Where do you go?
Yeah. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. So I got to work with Batman early in my career, which was very fortunate, but also very educational in terms of the importance and rules of an intellectual property. So working as an editor with Batman, we had a Bible, we had a set of rules, you had to have an understanding of a character. So when I would deal with different creators, they would ask the questions and I would have the answers. This is actually the reverse, because this is a creator-owned intellectual property, and I walked in the door and you had the Bible and you had the developmental material and you had the script. So I'm now, digesting that to get immersed in your world. And instead of having the answers, my job is to ask you the questions.
It's very cool.
Well,
right.
I can't wait for
my
the
job
questions.
is to ask you, no, but, like start with, what's the theme, right? The theme is going to be the foundation that everything rests on, right? So by the time you read the first, you might be calling this like two doctors and a general walk into a bar, because there are three main characters and the theme is going to be the foundation upon which they rest, and there are conflicts to that. So in working creatively to respect the legacy that you're talking about, we're going to have to mind meld, right? So that my editorial instinct will always be in service of the themes of the story that's being told.
Wow, that's very well put. I cannot wait to have these conversations with you. I can't wait to hear the questions that you are going to come up with the experience that you have, man.
Well, the thing is, listen, I mean, one thing the story's got going for it is, like, as soon as you jump in, like, you hit page 2 and it's on, because something that you see and it's like, okay, this is all going to be bad from here, right? And you know what it is, right? But it's like, first page is kind of somber and it sets a mood, and then page 2 and you're like, shit. So, that immediately pulls the reader in, and what we're going to do is we're going to take them on a ride, and then by the time they're done, they're going to smoke a cigarette, right? Because they've just gone through that entire emotional experience of the dread and the pathos and the burden and all of it. So, it'll all really come down to, our job is to sync with you so that we understand the vision as much as we can without being as intimately involved as you are.
Yeah. Can I, I like to add to that, and that is that it's not only just taking the the starting place with your script with the Rise, which is the taking on the mantle of your father and kind of doing a prequel to how it all began. But you and I had a conversation earlier, and the one of the things that you pointed out is that you really have developed these characters, and all great stories have to have great characters. And so, because the more you understand these characters, the more they start to other people who come into it understand how to manage their motivation. So when you're creating a Bible, which you've essentially done, or create this universe, is that now we're going to come along and assist you in building this into even a bigger universe, right? We're creating the Deadverse. Yeah. And the Deadverse is going to be where we're able to take these different characters, and it's going to spin out into other stories and other ways for people can come into this universe. And that's one of the key things when you're building a universe, whether it was DC, I was doing the DC universe, or Transformers, it's finding different ways and characters that people will identify to. Because just like, whether it's Justice League or Avengers, everybody has their own favorite character.
Yeah.
And they will buy that character over another character. So it's the same thing here. So it's going to be about building certain characters that really start to shine and start to find their own fans within the universe.
Well, exactly. And the tough part about that for me is that there aren't many good characters in the entire thing. So it's basically different levels of asshole.
Well, actually, in this climate, I mean, I think we can all relate to them, huh?
Yeah, seriously.
Tommy, you've got DIGA, you know, you've got a lot of experience in the IP development and DIGA, and you know, I mean, I would love your take on
And
hello? What happened?
Oh, I think Joe froze.
Oh.
The zombie took over.
So
What
Tommy,
happened?
from the
all
standpoint
right, no.
Oh.
I'm still alive.
okay.
There he is.
From the standpoint of DIGA Studios, you know, maybe what would be really great for people in the brigade to understand would be, you know, the importance of IP development from the standpoint of production and execution and getting it all done and into the world and made. And, you know, what, you know, because we've had a lot of conversations, and, you know, it's the IP side of it. It's the vast Deadverse that I just personally freaked out on the fact that David just dropped. The first mention of the Deadverse. You know, like what is appealing about this type of project or this type of approach to a project? Again, because I want to try to make it less about, you know, I want to make it,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's
Of course, man.
about this type of thing to DIGA Studios?
Yeah, so you know, I have such a different entry point into this. You know, just coming up through the, you know, through the production company side. You know, the challenge of selling a project in general is it's impossible, right? And you start from there. And you know, Tony DeSanto, our founder and CEO, you know, he came up at MTV, and he was somebody who, you know, had a real eye for finding IP and trying to find ways to breathe new life into it. I think the best example, I think, in his career of what he did was what he did with Teen Wolf on MTV. And he left MTV while he was doing that and started DIGA to kind of continue along, you know, the path that he was on and what he believed were the strongest and funnest parts of what he was doing at MTV. And I was lucky enough to start with him, you know, in 2014. And since then, you know, we've been racking our brains to try and find different ways to create and develop IP, you know, for both creative and business reasons, right? I think, you know, Tony and I are fun. We're a fun team in that we're kind of, you know, like 70-30 opposites, where he is really, you know, the creative lead, but understands the business side. And I am more of the business and production lead, but, you know, get the creative side and I'm a big fan. And so we've always tried to figure out a way, like, all right, how can we harness the creative energy and own what we're doing, which I think is a real challenge in the industry today, with the amount of kind of power and money that gets wielded around when something becomes popular. You know, one of the first swings that we took early on was creating a book division. You know, Tony had an idea for creating a world around some of the old horror, you know, some of the biggest monsters in horror, but with a new twist. And we have these 3 books that are, you know, all take place in the same high school, you know, Teen Frankenstein, Teen Hyde, and Teen Phantom. And they're really interesting takes with female protagonists. And we're developing, you know, now we're able to take those and develop them, you know, in series. And we've had, you know, some success on the development side, on the optioning side, but we still haven't kind of found the liftoff on that yet. I still think we will, but you know, I have in 2018 and 2019, you know, I really pushed hard for creating a new division for alternative development, to find new ways to create IP, to mine for IP, and to create partnerships. I wasn't even 100% sure what that was, honestly. I just knew I was a fan of a lot of different genres, and I wanted to find creative people that were hungry and that were interesting and that were good partners, which I think is a huge part of it too. To find things to work together on, create new things, you know, mine IP, etc. And you know, when I got to meet Matt, you know, when at the time I was talking to him about comics, and he was quietly taking over as CEO of Heavy Metal. And when that takeover happened, the light bulb that went off in both of our heads was like, all right, this is gonna be something special and something we can build on. And I figured, all right, this is the route in. And since then, you know, we've been hunting, right, for the right partners and the right IP. And I mean, the second that I saw the treasure trove of material that you had on Rise, you know, just look, as a fan of the genre, of a fan with great respect of what your father's done, and then seeing this totally authentic new take on it, that honored, everything, but also brought a totally new aspect to it. It's really truly the first piece of IP that I saw that was so different from its predecessor, but also so rooted in the DNA. And that the excitement level, obviously, on the creative side was there, but also on the business side, and I think it's an important thing to think about. I do look at it from both sides. It's my job.
Right.
And I feel like, the ability, kind of like how David said, finding different ways to bring people into this world is both creatively satisfying, but also an incredible business opportunity. To be able to do print, animation, television features, video games, pinball machines, the possibilities are endless. And to find a property that you can do that around is so hard. And then once you find it, to be able to actually partner up on it is even harder. And the fact that you and Matt and I have been able to so seamlessly, in a few conversations, find our way there, I can't even tell you how gratifying it's been, and it kind of renews my faith in this industry a little bit also at times, because it's just, I've seen so much terrible bullshit happen to people, and ourselves included at DIGA. There's a lot that's happened to us that I wish I could say in a public forum, but I won't. And Matt's laughed because I've said it in a private forum to him. And but to feel like, okay, there's a creative backbone here that is undeniable. And then there's also a partnership here that is going to be, I don't know, as fulfilling as one can be, and as straightforward and as above board. It's just something that you don't find every day. And I think, to get all those pieces together, I am the lucky one. You said before too, you were talking about how we're kind of learning, from these guys, from these masters. Like, that's the other part of this that is just friggin' cool. Like, learning how to make a comic book.
Right.
I am blown away by the process. I grew up obsessed with Superman and Batman, particularly those two. Both, the comics, the cartoons, the merchandise. I'm such a whore for Superman merchandise. I can't even tell you. My wife is embarrassed by it. And my office, if you'd ever seen it, you would know what I'm talking about. And I've always known someday I was going to get to a point where I was going to be able to create something like that. But my route to get here has been a weird one, and that's to everybody out there. Like, there is no singular path to getting to this point, and everybody should know that. So just to give everybody a quick snapshot of mine, like, I came out of college, I studied, film production with a focus in directing and screenwriting and a minor in acting. My first 12 or 13 years in television were in unscripted television, most of which I would not ask any of you to watch. But I always had faith that, the harder I worked, and the quicker I was able to move up, the quicker I'd be able to actually do what I love. And I would be able to help, I'd be able to get to that point where I could find these types of projects to work on. And again, they're so satisfying creatively and from a business perspective. And finding Tony was step one, and finding Matt was step two, and now finding you, dude, like, I'm just grinning like an idiot right now because of it. So,
I was going to say, one of the things, Tommy, that you said that I think is really important for people in the brigade, and obviously it's there's very few of them, but when you were saying about your regained hope in the industry, let alone like how easy the partnership is with George, how the legacy, right? Most people that have legacy, regardless of the stuff that they then create, it's always this is how it is, period.
Yeah, they're the worst.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the thing that at least I latched on, like, because the way, for people listening and watching, the way it worked was Joe emailed me. I said, blame Joe. He emailed me again. I was like, fine, I'll answer. and then he put me on a and then he put me on a video call with George, and we really connected. And then he sent me the Dropbox for the Rise, and with I mean, I get sent content a lot, obviously, and for it to filter to a David and then to a Tommy and to a Joseph, it needs to have really 3 key things, and it was kind of hit on by all you guys, but it needs to be from a partner, first and foremost, from a partner that we want to barbecue with, right? Like, and like that might sound silly to some people, but to me, I don't work in entertainment to have to work with assholes, right? That's like that's a hard line for me, right? If I want to work with assholes, I'll work in Medicare, but it's really important to me that I work with people that like I can go barbecue with on Memorial Day weekend if there wasn't quarantine and we were allowed to
get ribs.
Exactly. So the fact that was like a front end was really like a big check. But then to the David and Joe parts, the world being built is so unique, and that grabbed me. And I remember sending it to David. I was like, "Yo, I think there's something here." And I usually don't say that. I mean, you can ask David. I read a lot of things, and a lot of times I was like, I'm indifferent. What do you think? But there's only been a handful of times that I've actually said to David when I send him something, I think there's something big here. Usually I just wait for his approval and go with what he thinks, because 99% of the time his hypotheses are right. So, but then the third piece of it is the cherry on top is that it's a legacy brand reimagined, right? And not just reimagined, but it solves a lot of canon issues from the last 50 years, right? That is the part that's crazy. And for me, I know you love using the term like the Trinity, but it's really the Trinity in so many, in like 4 dimensions, Trinity of people involved, Trinity of how the project works, Trinity of who you are as a person. You know, like, I mean, everything from when we talked about yesterday, the stuff that you do with veterans is unbelievable, right? It's so freaking cool. And for me, stuff like that is what I care about, right? Because, you know, a property comes and goes, a comic book has its moment, but if you can build something more around it than just the moment of a comic book, then you can remember it in almost a better way, in a more memorialized way, right? Because, you know, not every character is going to be 50 years old like a Batman or Superman. A lot of characters have their moment and then kind of pass on. And if the people that you create it with, you can always have that like glory, that feeling of accomplishment with, that's a big piece of it.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think what, you know, you guys were talking about a minute ago about, you know, people who come in and say, this is it, this is how it's got to be. That's never, I've never seen that work out for anybody. It just doesn't. It doesn't create happy relationships. It doesn't create happy content, and it doesn't create things that are sustainable. And so, you know, while there is a script and a story for Rise in particular, what I really wanted to build and what blew me away that everybody here saw was that I really wanted to build a sandbox where me and the right people could just jump in and all play.
Dead box. The
dead box.
You heard it here first.
Trademark that, Medley. And hurry up before Lance does it.
And, you know, so maybe we can, this is a question I think maybe for Joe and David, you know, when it comes to, you know, getting into a sandbox, right? And sort of not necessarily finding the rules, but finding the loose structure where everybody can go and then build their sandcastles. You know, how does that appeal to you guys? And is that something that is common in the world of universe development or terraforming or what? I'm using all the wrong words, but that's because I'm an idiot.
No, you're using some of the right words. I mean, listen, like, the great thing about a mythology is that it's some place that other people can come, and as long as they respect the rules, they can play. And the thing about rules are, some people see them as limitations, but what they actually are great opportunities. So there's a lot of Superman and Batman love happening here tonight, right? Let's talk about Superman. So Superman will not kill, right? He has a very clear. Well, let's not.
Well, it's changed. It's changed.
Man of Steel another day. quintessential Superman will not kill, right? And a lot of people will say, like, well, Superman's too good. He's too powerful. I can't do anything with that. And it's like, he's an orphan on a world of breakable people. And there are people every day who are trying to push him towards doing things that are against his belief system, right? So Superman's capacity to be a good human being in a world that hardwires everyone to be greedy, to be selfish, to not care about their fellow man, to go for a buck, to have no optimism, to not believe in the equality of all people, to not understand that our greatest strength is love. That's what makes him special. And so when you're writing about Superman, you're writing about the capacity to remain true to a belief system in a world that wants to shatter that belief system every day.
Yeah, but then part of that, again, I mean, and we don't want to go into a whole Superman mythology, but then
I can listen all day.
I was gonna say,
I think we do.
This is the group of people I really do want to listen to.
Coming up, the cage match between Joe and David over Superman versus Batman.
Yeah, well, because one of the things about Superman, I mean, you're touching on it, Joseph, is that that you're taking an orphan, right? He is an orphan in a world that is looking for a hero, and because of that, he's adopted this world as his own, but there are many who won't accept it. So there's a lot of psychological things that allows you to play with it. Because one of the first things I did was when I first started working at DC was I went to a comic shop and I was able to see that people were buying, somebody who buys a Spider-Man comic book was not buying a Batman comic book. A Batman comic book was not buying an X-Men comic book, etc. So for me, the first thing I needed to do to understand this was to do what we call the DNA. I had to do a breakdown as to what is the DNA of these characters and what are all of these different little attributes that add up and makes them distinctively different, and what are those little aspects and attributes that are resonating to that fan. And then you start taking those little things and you start breaking it out, and you're able to start building stories and elevating those special attributes. So you start building more and more ways for people to come into it. Because when I was on Transformers, the thing that I was so blown away with is none of the bots had vulnerabilities. Right? So going back to your sandbox and how you set the canon and create the canon and setting down the rules that Joe mentioned, these are the things that you have to think about. And these are the things that I had to think about for DC, and I had to think about for Transformers, as well as all the other properties that, because also I had to build this Transformers universe where we're bringing in all those other boy properties from Micronauts to G.I. Joe and putting it under this umbrella. So again, it's about how do you take those make it more relevant to today's audience, but making it rich enough so that way when other people come in, there's enough tools, a lot of tools for them to play with.
Interesting points, guys. I really do want to have that cage match between the two of you over Batman and Superman.
Well, I just want to ask one question. I'm just going to ask this. So, Joseph, we've talked about this before. I forget which series it was in, but the line where Batman and Superman, like, the difference between me and you is I'm not a good person, and Batman says that, right?
Right.
But my question to you is, they both don't kill people, right? Most times, right? Most times. So
Like, the essential versions of those characters do not. Yes.
right, but then why are they? Why doesn't Bruce kill people if he's deep down not a good person?
Because he witnessed his parents get killed.
Then why isn't he a good person?
So imagine a person who witnessed his parents killed and he dedicates his life to fight crime and wear a suit. There's a guy who just does not want the onus of and the weight of witnessing your loved one being killed to anyone else.
Right, and so there's the core of that, and then there's, so consider these two things, right? Consider the fact that Bruce's father was a doctor, right, who believes in the Hippocratic Oath, and his mom was a social worker, right? So you combine those two ethos, and that is the foundation for Bruce's innate respect for life, right?
Well,
So
yeah, exactly. Plus, it's the beginning of his morals, right? One of the key aspects of the morality that he has been instilled to him. And just as Superman's morality is really based on a lot of the American values, the Midwestern American values of the 50s and 40s. You know, he was in 1938, right?
Yep.
A lot of them are the early essential American values that still hold true today. But again, as society changes and the world changes, then it gets reshaped a little bit, right? It gets modified because in the it's a different world in 1938.
Yep. And also, Bruce doesn't think he's good when he's talking to Kal-El. Now, there are a bunch of people who have followed Bruce into the fire, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, and they would all say they'll take a bullet for Bruce. They would call Wayne a good person. Wayne will not call himself a good person, because when you are talking to people like Kal-El, when you're talking to like Diana, Princess of Themyscira, you cannot compare. You cannot compare to their innate goodness. You know what I mean? So these things are also relative.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but so moving away from the DC,
hell. Back to the dead verse.
Yeah, back to the dead verse.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So one of the, I think Walking Dead did a really good
podcast, Tommy. The two of them.
Yes. Add that to our weekly agenda.
I'm going to.
But I think like The Walking Dead has done a great job of taking characters and showing the spectrum of humans and our actions and how we react and so forth. And so with George's The Rise, what makes it different, it's I don't want to give away too much, so I'll shut up. So.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, people have to buy the book.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so here you go. Let me see if I can kind of speak to maybe where you're going a little bit without giving anything away. So, what we're talking about, the core of the conversation that you guys just had about Batman and Superman, which was probably one of the coolest moments in the history of the Indie Brigade.
We're happy to provide.
There, like I said earlier, there are no actual sort of good. There's a couple of good people in the Rise, but they're quickly not there much. It's mostly a story among different levels of kind of corrupt and bad sort of people. And so, when we're talking about morality of just basically scales of bad, right? The challenge in my mind becomes, how do we, how do you think about, making any of those characters appeal to different types of people? Because this is a challenge that I had developing it, and I think it's probably going to be a challenge that we have maybe, as we develop all of the other stuff we've been talking about, right? We've basically got to make people like different scales of bad people.
Go ahead, Dave.
What that brings to mind right away is that I always say, when I'm dealing with writers and whatnot, is that it's the villain that makes the hero, or the obstacle that makes the hero, right? So when you have a cast, right? So when you have a world of a bunch of bad guys, right? Then you have one of the things about bad guys and villains, they don't think they're bad.
Right.
Well, a good villain doesn't think he's bad, right? Like a well-written villain. I mean,
everyone is a hero in their own story.
Right.
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 Everyone has a justifiable position, right? And that's the thing about the dope characters, right? So if we're talking about cinema, and we're gonna geek out again, like Michael Fassbender's Magneto is dope.
Totally.
Because
Agreed.
His reasoning is so clear to him, right? That's the thing. So to me, when you talk about how do we make people care about these characters, because even though they're different layers of bad, everyone will have a position that you'll be like, I get it. Now, I don't agree with it, but I get it.
Excellent.
But these bad guys are going to find somebody who thinks that they're a hero, because they're going to relate to it.
Well, they also think they're a hero, right? Like Thanos is right. Look at what's happening in the world right now. Thanos is right. I'm just saying. Dave, I think me and you were talking about this literally today. The irony of Endgame. There's a scene where Steve Rogers, who's always the optimist, right, is trying to see the silver lining in the snap, and says to Black Widow, at least the Dolphins are returning to Manhattan, right? There's that moment where like he tries to justify it in some way, shape, or form. Right now, there are fish migrating in old patterns that they haven't done in thousands of years because we're using less fuel in the oceans. That's real.
So
leave it to Medney to come up with a positive angle of the damn pandemic.
I'm just saying.
Wow, I didn't know we were talking a few thousands of years ago, but okay.
Well, we had a crazy conversation about the just time itself the other day.
Oh boy, we all had that same conversation with Matt.
Oh yeah,
just so you know,
we talked a little bit about that at the weekly heavy metal DIGA meeting. We talked about the parallel universe and time going backwards and what the hell that means.
Yeah.
I was saying to Tommy yesterday, because that news came out, I think, on Wednesday. And then yesterday, the preview for Tenet came out. And for all our conspiracy theories lovers, Warner paid NASA for the most brilliant ad ever.
Uh-huh.
Dude. damn Tenet, man.
But the Tenet literally follows the preview, is exactly what NASA's saying.
It really is.
It's identical.
It's identical.
Really strange. Really strange.
Yep.
Oh man. Okay, so let's we're coming up here, so let's just kind of go around and maybe wrap some stuff up. I have another question I'd love to get everybody's thoughts on from the different perspectives, because look, and I haven't said this, I don't think, once tonight yet, David Madison, so I'm going to say it at the end of the day, which I should say at the end of the night, coming up at 11. If you're looking to get into more of an intellectual property thing, and you think to yourself that you've got something that you want to make into a movie, or because let's face it, it's going to be a long time before production spins up normal again. So at least I think so. So in the meantime, if you've got something and you want to develop it further, where do you start to think? How do you start to think about something that you wrote as a movie script becoming more than that, becoming a universe, becoming a piece of intellectual property? How do you start thinking about building your own sandbox? And I would love everybody's opinion on that.
I'll start. I don't know if this is a good answer, but I would say that anything that you create, if you don't create it from that perspective, it might not be worth creating. If you're not, if you can't see how the world vibrates out from that singular script, then you're going to get eaten alive in a pitch meeting with someone like Tommy. Just straight up. Straight up. Tommy's going to get excited. He's going to read the script. Be like, yo, this is dope. How's this happen? How's this happen? How's this happen? All things that you would need to have answers to make that sandbox. And if you don't have them because you just had that one script, you're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah, Tommy hit me with some really hard questions. Actually, everybody here hit me with some really hard questions. But, you know, I think I tried to have all the best answers I could. So,
I mean, you have like a 2 gigabyte Google.
Yeah, dude. You have the answers.
So like you have a universe there.
Dude, Matt sent me the link. He was like, "Are you ready for this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I open it. There's like a dozen documents. I'm like, "Where do I?" I'm just click on that one. I'll just say
it was the challenge though of where do you start. I agree with you. And I got the same text from Matt. I was like, "Are you sitting down?"
The laziest creator alive.
One thing I will say, you know, just as far as like, you know, current environment. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, just, you know, as far as the current environment, you know, as a production company, right? To George's point, you know, production itself is it's going to creep back, but it's going to take a minute. And look, we shut down, you know, physical production in the beginning of March. We were fortunate to have some things in edit, and we were able to do that virtually. But, you know, then we have had to just have nothing but our development hats on since, right? And what I have loved about having this war chest, this partnership with heavy metal, is the ability to figure out ways to create. Not just to create IP, but also create avenues for it. And there are many different avenues for creating IP that I think are doable for everybody. You know, if you have a universe that you've built, you can find a creative way to launch it yourself. You can launch it as your own podcast. You know, you can launch it as your own short story. I think, you know, you should not shy away from creating your universe and establishing it in some way. So that you can also have ownership of it too when somebody recognizes the greatness in it, because that, you know, it is such a huge part of the game, unfortunately, right? Is being able to control what you create, and there are a lot of guys in my chair whose job it is to try and take that control away from you, and I think, you know, any path that you see forward for planting that flag and planting the seed of your universe, take it. And don't shy away from it. And if if that means a partnership, don't shy away from that partnership. Find the right partner and trust that partner, and make sure that they have, you know, a vested interest and are going to, you know, equally contribute. But you know, don't stop, you know, just because it's like, this is a big idea. Okay, that's a good thing. Now figure out a way to plant it one way or another. And I think, you know, what's fun about what I'm doing with what we're doing, with heavy metal is, there's no limit to how we're creating these pieces of IP. We see something we like and we go, all right, what's the seed we're going to plant on this one? Are we going to plant 2 seeds? Oh, we're going to plant 2 seeds. Like there are no limits. And you know, you don't need a lot of money to do these things either. You know, there are creative ways to get your stuff out there. So I'm a big believer, because of the fact that I've spent a long time trying to find my way into this avenue. That I would love people to know, like, it's not as hard as you think that it is. Believe in yourself, believe in your idea, and get it out there.
Well, it's a daunting concept for a lot of people, especially folks in the Brigade who are just starting out, trying to really think on that bigger scale. And, you know, for anybody watching tonight and anybody who watches after this, take the words that all of these guys are saying right now to heart, because you have to stick to your fucking guns out there when you're up, because like Tommy even said, he said there's a lot of guys in his chair whose job it is to take that away from you. I've met most of them.
You got the checklist?
You know, and for a lot of years, I felt like I had my back against a brick wall with like a gun in each hand and one bullet left, right? You know, and now that's so different. And so, you know, when you meet the right people who do see what you're working on, you know, it's a game changer, and the right partnerships and the right people who believe in what you're trying to do, they are out there, and you will find them.
And Tommy kind of touched on something, and that was the something that I always kept in the back of my mind when it comes to intellectual properties, right? and that is, it can come from anywhere, because you take something like Angry Bird, an app, became a movie, and it became a huge franchise, huge licensing business. So it can come from anywhere. So your passion doesn't have to necessarily be down the narrow path of what you think Hollywood is looking for, right? Because they're looking at look at all the shows that when YouTube became big and all these YouTube stars were coming out, then Hollywood kind of was scouring that and looking for ideas through YouTube. And I mean that's kind of passed in the sense that they found that because they look at the numbers and they see the fan base and so forth, and they think that they can take advantage of that fan base and create a story around it. And they found that it hasn't worked. And so they're always looking somewhere new that's going to pop up. I mean, who knows? Maybe there'll be something from TikTok. There'll be a property.
There's definitely going to be something from TikTok.
Help us.
God help us is right, George. I agree.
But
you see, the hire they just made, they grab somebody from Disney to run it.
The dude that
they know what they're doing over there.
Disney streaming platform. But to Tommy's point, like on low budget, right? If you built a huge universe, just to give an example, if you built a huge universe with an explorer as your lead character, you could literally write a half dozen journal entries of his experiences. Single narrative. You don't have to get too expansive, but there's some IP that you can put out into the world to establish it. Just pen and paper with your script or whatever else you'd written before as that larger thing. But you can hone in on something as simple as just like a couple of journal entries of your main protagonist and how he interacts with the environment that you had built for him. And now you have your IP solidified. Whether you publish that through an Amazon short story or Kickstarter or whatever, it isn't that hard if you can take a step back and create the vision board for the characters and then figure out how to kind of enter it in with just your pen and paper.
Yeah, well, adding to that, I would say that you started this off about scripts, Matt. So I would say that many different people have different ways of getting there. So whatever tools you need and however you want to get there, and so long as the story is a good story. Because you can have great ideas, but it doesn't mean crap unless it's a good story.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and how you get there doesn't matter. How you get there, it doesn't matter.
100%.
Absolutely. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I'm actually going to wrap it up in a way that's non-creative. If you are creating ideas that have value and you see those as part of your future, that they have long life, you're going to have to deal with boring business stuff. Copyrights, trademarks, because one more thing, keep your mouth shut. Like, honestly, don't tell your best friend your dope idea. Right? Don't do it. Get it down, have it protected, make one form of it, manifest it in one form. Short prose story, 3-page comic, I don't care what it is. Protect it legally, manifest it in one form, put it out in the world, then you can talk to your boy about it. But not before. You've got to do the boring infrastructure to protect your ideas.
That's some truth right there, right?
Absolutely. It really is, dude.
Or how about just getting it done, then talk about it?
Yeah.
There you go.
And don't let other people push your idea around. New ideas are always going to make you uncomfortable, which is one of David's best lessons. Is if an idea doesn't make you uncomfortable, it's probably not that new.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, because films used to be dangerous, and so did comics.
Totally.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we're bringing dangerous comics back.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, they're here. Listen, guys, I cannot thank you all enough for spending some time with me tonight here and being part of telling everybody out there who cares what we're doing. This is truly, this is something that's been over a decade of my life. You guys know, a lot of the stuff that's going on, and you guys know a lot about the catharsis that I've been going through since we've been, getting this all worked out. This is just literally, it's the biggest honor of my life to work with you guys. And, for everybody watching, this is the team that's bringing Romero's Dead Verse to the world, starting with the Rise comic. And so buckle up, here we fucking go.
Our pleasure.
Hell yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Boom.
There it is.
Having us
There
here
it is.
tonight.
That's so cool.
That DIGA logo. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank
Truly
you.
an honor. Truly an honor, George. Thank you, man.
All right, have a good one.
You guys have a good night.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Wrong person. They all jump around. Holy shit, how cool was that?
There you go, buddy. There you go, everybody. There you go, Lance.
I'm still kind of in awe.
Yeah. By the way, we need to have a Joe Illidge, David Irwin cage match, Batman, Superman cage match.
Oh, yeah. It will happen. Definitely.
That was awesome.
You see the people popping up on here? Obviously, Greco, Max.
Rico. Love you,
Hold on
brother.
1 second. I saw somebody else a moment ago. Melvin from the Toxic Avengers.
Boom. What's up, Mark? How you doing, man? Thank you for joining tonight. Really a great night tonight.
That is kick ass.
So that's it. I mean, that's all I got. I got to tell you, before we bring David Madison up here, I just want to say, I hope everybody listened and really got a lot out of tonight. But, the most important thing, one of the most important things is what Joe ended on, which is, do it quietly. Do it behind the scenes. Do what you're doing because haters are going to hate. And they're going to wake up in the morning and they're going to drink their glass of haterade and they're going to try to fuck with what you're building. Also, when you're building something like a script or a story or anything like that, you need to think about it like more than it is in your mind, right? You need to think about it. You need to think about the property of it. You need to think about the fact that you are developing a piece of intellectual property. The term is thrown around a lot, and it's thrown around a lot with regard to these big IPs. David with Transformers, and Joe with Batman, and Matt with heavy metal, and Tommy with DIGA Studios and everything that DIGA has touched. IP generally, especially for a lot of indie folks, IP tends to mean something bigger or sort of something beyond reach or something. Yeah, one day I'll do it. I'll get a toy line out of my movie or something. You need to think about your toy line when you're writing your script, right? When you have your idea, when you write your first page, you need to already be thinking about your toy line. Not that every idea deserves a toy line, not that every idea will get one, but you need to be thinking as though it will. You need to be thinking about the universe of what you're building and the sandbox and the rules. The rules are the most important part of developing anything. And everybody, guys, girls, everybody watching, I've been a little sort of not as active over the past several weeks, and I hope you all realize now why. The best part about this whole thing is that ain't even all the good fucking news. So there's more coming. Yeah. This is literally the biggest project announcement of my entire life and career. And it has done me so much good. And I'm so honored that everybody who joined tonight joined to watch and tune in and see what's going on and hear what we're doing with heavy metal and DIGA. And to see and hear from the people who are involved and who, after 11 years of sticking to my guns and standing with my back against that fucking wall, these are the guys that saw what I've been trying to build. and it's been literally one of the most amazing working experiences of my life, not to mention the friendships that I've developed out of it. And I can't thank them all for being a part of things coming on tonight. And I can't thank everybody enough for being here. So you want to bring David Madison up there, Joey? Joey.
All right, you just called me a baby freaking kangaroo, so I'm going to leave you on your own for right now. How about that? Georgie.
I'm just going to sit here and drink coffee over dead air.
No, that ain't going to happen. Absolutely not. We all know how I feel about that, damn it. But I mean, everybody is, congratulations. You guys are freaking awesome. The excitement. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
The energy and the electricity, and it's just.
It's cool, right?
Yeah. And you told me I couldn't drink too much tonight, so I've got to be like this. Damn it.
That's okay. You can drink all you want now.
Son of a bitch. All right, Mr. David Lee Madison.
David,
What's up, gentlemen?
how's it going?
Very well. Congratulations, George. That was awesome, epic, great news.
Thank you, David. It's really been why I've been kind of not super around.
It's funny. All the show tonight made me think of one of my favorite books. Do you know the book Yellow River?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who it's by?
No.
I.P. Daly. Go ahead. Sorry. I cut you off. I cut you off a moment ago about something you were going to say, George.
I was just going to say I'm honored that you're here with us tonight, David.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is literally the biggest announcement of my life and career, and the fact that you're part of it, and the fact that we get to roll right into your show here in a few minutes, it's a big honor for me, and I love you, man, and I'm proud you're here, and I'm proud you're part of this family. So.
Well, I love you too, George, and I'm super proud, and I'm happy that everything is working out the way you want it to work out. Because in life, that's all we have is our happiness and our health, and lots of rice pudding, of course.
Yeah, everybody's like ready for David.
Yeah.
David. David.
Like, get your
wait.
fucking screen.
I just wanted to mention it's a very special day for one of our guests that we had on the end of the night last week. I want to start with saying she's an unbelievably talented actress. She's unmistakably beautiful. And of course, we all know we're talking about Felissa Rose. Happy birthday, Felissa Rose.
Happy birthday.
Definitely. Happy birthday.
Yes.
All right.
What happened now?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. You guys both look like the sheriff was behind me or something.
No. I was trying to figure out what this meant. And so
See David Madison. See David Madison in living color.
See him, or does that mean like see David Madison about that thing?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See David Madison about that
it's not kind of
briefcase.
like a.
By the way, my arch nemesis, Tiffany Shepis, is watching. I will get you, Miss Shepis. I will get you.
I thought the war was over. I thought everything was good.
Wait a minute.
It's not her
shit.
birthday. Was her husband's? Well, she put it up on her page like it was. You know what?
Well played, Miss.
Oh
Shepard.
man, she set you up. Oh, I guess she fired another shot across the bow, David.
Your Pennsylvania privileges are revoked, Miss Shepis.
Damn.
This night keeps getting better.
On to the show that we have coming up at 11 o'clock tonight. I am beyond honored that we are going to have the man who keeps the beat for the heart of rock and roll, a man who's in a band that sold over 25 million records. He helped write over 19 top 20 singles. He's just a great guy, and I'm humbled that he'll be joining us on the Indie Brigade Network tonight. Bill Gibson will be joining us, so I'm super juiced about that. If you guys are, following George is literally like following Jerry Lee Lewis, like back in the day when he'd be playing a great concert and then he'd set his freaking piano on fire. But I will do my best to try and follow the great George Romero, who is very, very big shoes to try and step into.
I don't know. There's like a freaking war starting. We got Max saying stay away from my girl Tiff, and Tiffany saying I own the Poconos.
Damn.
the
This
war
is the only,
is just
the only
starting.
Poconos you know own, Tiff.
Oh, this.
All right,
This
well,
could
listen,
get
You know what the
interesting.
truth of the matter is? I adore Tiffany Shepis, and if she wants to beat me up, if out of all the people in the world, I'll be more than happy to let Tiff take a horse collar to me.
All right, then. You heard it here first.
It sounded kind of kinky, actually. I apologize.
Yeah, I was like, what was that? All right, David. Well, listen, I can't wait for your show coming up here in about 25 minutes.
George, you will be joining me, or are you going to...
Yeah, absolutely. I will be here and available. I'll be working on my computer, and I will be here if you need me, and I would love to pop on and say hello. So listen, have a great show, man, and I'll see you in a little bit, and
right.
we'll get this thing going.
Be well, and I will see you guys at 11 o'clock at the top of the hour.
See you soon.
That'll work.
Yeah.
See you. Oh, she did say this is so interesting, but I gotta go. I love you, George and Joe. Good night, Tiff.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. Joe, do you have the house lights ready?
No,
Good job.
right? I tried, but there was too much cool crap going on.
You so
and-
almost killed it tonight, and then you're just gonna like fuck up the end.
Wait a minute.
Missed it by that much.
Damn it.
All right, are we ready?
No.
Are we ready? For
Never.
Are we ready for the out?
No. Yes.
All right. Everybody, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Joe, thank you. I blame you completely for the future of the Deadverse. And I love you forever, buddy. And everybody watching, thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for being a part of each other's lives. Thank you for being a part of this community and being part of the Indie Brigade. Just never fucking stop creating and just be an outlaw. And as always, fuck off till next time. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
A murder was left to me. Scared the people. pieces into the wind. Blood of my soul turned to rust, staining the empty halls within. Flesh ruptured with a stench of rot. Maggots churn in the eyes of the dead. And this that twists deep inside of me is a bitter root. Indeed.
Mr. Ridgely!
Mr. Madison, how are you?
How are you, my dear friend?
I am excellent. I'm really excited about tonight's show.
So am I. I am beyond excited because not only is my guest tonight a dear friend of mine, but no band or no artist has ever influenced me as much as Huey Lewis and the News have. And for those of you who are joining us right now, our guest tonight in a few minutes, the heartbeat of American rock and roll, the man who keeps the beat, one of the founders of one of the most iconic bands in music history, Bill Gibson, will be joining us from Huey Lewis and the News. So stay tuned. Bill will be joining us in just a few minutes, but you have to put up with some of my silly shenanigans first because
we love it.
Because we love it. By the way, super proud of George. His show was exciting tonight, and it's just awesome to see him so happy.
Right? Instead of him having that mug on his face like he normally does.
Yeah, like he usually looks constipated. Tonight he looked like he had prune juice, and everything is fine.
That's awesome.
That's me. Hey, Sean. I hope you're well. So, with tonight being a big episode with a rock and roll icon joining us, I thought, hi, Ed, your brother's awesome, and I'm honored to have him on the show tonight. With us having a show that's around a rock and roll icon tonight, in my segment where I usually tell people what films they should catch up on during this lovely pandemic, I'm going to go more music-themed than usual tonight, Joe. So, the first movie I suggest you guys check out during the pandemic, and those of you who have never seen the show before, in the beginning of my show, I suggest films to watch during the pandemic. When the pandemic's over, I'm going to have to figure out another way to kill the first 10 minutes. Thank you, Jack. The first film I'm going to discuss tonight is an oldie, but you guys should seek it out because it has some of the most iconic and wonderful performers of all time in this film. It's called Robin and the Seven Hoods. And this film was made in the 60s and stars Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., the great Bing Crosby, and Peter Falk. So if you have the ability to go out and get your hands on Robin and the Seven Hoods, wonderful movie.
And for you youngsters out there, I guess you're missing Joey Bishop, but that's the Rat Pack.
Yes, did you see the movie, Joe?
I didn't. I did not see that particular one. I am a fan of the Rat Pack.
But this particular movie is one of the ones that they always discuss or always poke fun of on Family Guy. But it's a great, great movie. see Robin and the Seven Hoods. My next film is, I think it was made for VH1, but it's a great film, and it stars Aidan Quinn and Jared Harris, and they play John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And it's a great film called The Two of Us, or just The Two of Us. No, just The Two of Us. If you get a chance, really, really great film about what if Paul McCartney and John Lennon had got together before John Lennon was assassinated. Really great performances by Jared Harris and Aidan Quinn. So give it a look-see. And I would be remiss, Joe, if I didn't suggest this next movie while you guys are in pandemic. I actually just introduced it to my daughter like a week ago. Not even a week ago, maybe five or 6 nights ago. But the wonderful film Back to the Future. Maybe one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Joe, but our guest tonight has a little song in this movie called Power of Love that I think sold like 1 gazillion copies, if I'm not mistaken.
Never heard of it.
No. So those are the films that you need to check out while you're on pandemic. Which one of them? You saw Back to the Future, of course, right?
You know, I got to say, I was like 8 or 9 years old in the movie theater. Yes.
You haven't seen it since then?
Oh no, yeah, I actually did. All 3 of them?
Oh no, 2 is very difficult to watch, but 3 is not a bad movie at all. If you like westerns.
True.
Do I get the impression that you do not like 3?
It wasn't my favorite. I mean, as a kid, part 2 was probably up there a little more with the flying skateboard and everything. But
Part 2 was just like eye candy. It was like nothing substantial to it. 3 was a good old-fashioned western. Come on, whippersnapper.
Right on.
Yes. So, busy week. I finished up writing. I loved all 3 David Lee. Oh, okay. I thought there was like 3 movies called David Lee. And I was like, I have to see those because those are going to be probably the best movies ever made. But I guess he meant he loves all 3 Back to the Futures. Hi, the heart of rock and roll still beats, and we will be getting to Mr. Gibson shortly. And I agree, it's a great movie. So this week, I finished up my upcoming film, Wit's End. It's going to come out in the next 8 weeks. I'm super excited about that. I finished writing 2 scripts, so hopefully those will be done. And I barbecued chicken sandwiches today.
Well, you got Mr. Schiaffo commenting on your first flick that you...
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a great movie, Scott, especially when they're toying with the idea of going to Saturday Night Live together to perform. And that's just really what makes that movie work. I also have been very, very, very busy on my upcoming documentary film, Quarantined, Stories of Humanity. Mr. Ridgely, by any chance, would you have that trailer?
I believe I do, if you give me 1 second.
Yes. You ready to roll?
I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the teaser trailer for my upcoming film, Quarantined Stories of Humanity. More information to follow, but here's the teaser trailer.
For me, as I'm sure for everyone, is the not knowing. Not knowing how long it's going to be. Not knowing, are you next? Is a loved one next?
I don't know when I can even just hug another human being right now.
But just seeing your wife go by ambulance to the hospital, first time I read it, call 911.
Let me tell you, Joe, putting this film together is very, very difficult. And keeping my, good like my good happy face to putting this film together is very, very difficult. It's a very, very touching and deeply emotional documentary, and I think it's going to be a historic film. So I can't wait for that to come out.
I agree 100%. And some of the people, I recognize some of the voices, but I don't know if you want to.
Yes, in that trailer is David Howard Thornton from The Terrifier, and Lisa Alex, who's a wonderful singer, and Jason Moulton. But Ray Abruzzo is involved, and some very, very, very interesting night nurses, and firemen, and just people telling their everyday stories about these troubled times we live in. But enough with that sad stuff. We have one of the coolest rock and roll icons of all time. Mr. Ridgely, is he in our green room?
He is.
All right. Without further ado, because nobody wants to hear me banter, the man who has kept the beat of the heart of rock and roll for over the last 40 years, a living legend, an icon, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Gibson.
You're way too kind, Dave.
I am not kind enough, Bill, because not only are you one of the nicest and kindest human beings, you are by far one of the best drummers who's ever been behind a drum kit.
Wow. The compliments rain down. Thanks for saying so.
So let's get to the important stuff. Bill, do you watch The Masked Singer?
No, let's get to the real important stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your movie, Quarantine. When is that coming out? I have to see that.
Oh, I think it'll probably be done in late August or September.
Oh, okay. So we got to wait.
It's a weird film, Bill, because it's like, do you put it out in the middle of the pandemic? Do you put it out when things are starting to get better? It's a weird kind of thing to figure out when's a good time to put it out.
Right.
But when I do put it out, the majority of the proceeds are going to go to COVID relief. So hopefully everybody will take a look at it.
Excellent.
All right. Back to my important question, because there's a method to my madness, oddly enough.
Oh, also, one other thing.
Right.
I didn't know Power of Love was a science fiction movie. I guess.
No. I said Back to the Future was a science fiction movie.
Sorry. Back to the Future was a science fiction movie.
Of course it's a science fiction movie.
Comedy? What was a comedy?
Bill, do you have a time machine that I don't know about?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Science fiction. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this is going to be great.
Okay. What did you want to know?
Trust me, Joe, as that picture I sent you earlier, if you want to put that up now, it's one of Bill's favorite pictures.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
This particular one?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. See, that when that comes off, you'll see a big smile on Bill's face, because punching Dave is... See, Bill loves the idea of punching. But
that was the first time I met you, I think.
Yep, and trust me, as I'll take a number and wait online, because Tiffany Shepis, the lovely actress who was on last week, wants to punch me too. So it's just a Dave thing. All right, back to my...
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you watch Masked Singer by any chance?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask is because your man, I know you're an enormous Oakland A's fan, but your man Barry Zito was one of the contestants.
Oh yeah, I read about that in the sports section of the local paper.
Did you know he was such a good musician?
He's really getting a lot better on the guitar. I remember when he started playing the guitar, and it wasn't, it was not really worthy of going out and in front of people yet. And yet he did it. You got to give him that. But
that's for sure.
He's really come along, and he's playing a lot better. Did he play the guitar on The Masked Singer?
No, he was dressed up like a rhinoceros, and as a rhinoceros, he couldn't play the guitar. He just sang through his horn. It was very funny, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, do you think we're going to get?
I don't watch the show.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get a baseball season this year, Bill? No,
I really don't.
I was hoping.
They were saying they were going to what I heard was they were going to do three divisions. All the teams in the American League West and National League West, as well as it would be split up that way, would be in the Western Division. They'd play in Arizona. Teams in the Central Division from the AL Central, NL Central play in Texas in a Central Division. 3 divisions, 82 game series. Then 16 teams make the playoffs. They add a bunch of teams to the playoffs. So, and the thing is you have to get the players together in one place for maybe 4 months, 3 or 4 months. They can't have their families there. You know, I don't think that's going to fly with the players.
No, I know. And you know what? There's so much compromise and it isn't really going to feel like baseball, especially if they make the National League do the DH.
They're talking about that.
Yep. All right. Enough with our silly baseball talk. All our fans want to hear about your illustrious career. And seeing that I'm not only the host of the show, but the biggest Huey Lewis the News geek other than Jimmy Kimmel, I actually think I'm a bigger Huey Lewis the News geek than Jimmy Kimmel. So I might be a little all over the place, but please forgive me.
No worries.
My first question, I just found out over the last year or two that you guys had 2 videos for the Sooner or Later single off the first album. Why was there 2 different videos for that?
It was 2 different songs. It was one video for Some of My Lies Are True and one video for another song called Running with the Crowd that we never released.
Oh, okay. So that thing that's up on YouTube that is Sooner or Later playing behind both versions, it's where you guys are on the beach and you're on that platform.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry?
What's the other one?
They have the same exact video for Sooner or Later where you guys are on the beach, but it's raining. And Huey has an umbrella. And it's up on YouTube right now. It's almost frame for frame the same video as Sooner or Later. But it's definitely shot on a different day with a few different aspects to it. So I was always curious because it's like the same video twice, but it just looks like it was shot on 2 different days.
Is one just still shots?
No, they're both live action.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. We filmed 2 videos that day. We filmed the one at the beach in San Francisco, Some of My Lies Are True. Then we got in our cars and drove up to the mountain amphitheater on Mount Tam in Marin and did Don't Ever Tell Me That
You Love Me. Yep.
On the same day.
Wow.
And then,
those are
so that's how much we put into those.
No, those are actually kind of cool videos for their time. The reason I ask is because I just unearthed the second video for Sooner or Later, and it's essentially the same video, just with slightly different. So I was curious why you guys did that, but
I don't recall it.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's how I ask questions that no other Huey Lewis fan would even care to ask.
Not even guys in the band.
Yeah. All right. Your first album. Excuse me as I put my old man glasses on because I am old now.
Yeah, all of them.
I'm going to mention some of my favorite songs on your albums. And any thought that you come up with for that specific song pertaining that song would be awesome. I'm a big fan on your first album of Who Cares? What can you tell me about that song? And I mean, I think Chris's guitar solo on that particular song is probably one of the best rock and roll guitar solos of maybe all time. I think it's just that awesome.
Cool. That Mario wrote that song. And I believe, if I recall correctly, my recollection these days is no bueno. Yeah, Mario wrote Who Cares? And we just, it was like a jam that Huey wrote words to. And we cut that down at American Recorders on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City down in Los Angeles. And that was Richie Podler's studio where they recorded, it was like an 8-track studio with Army issue control panel with rotary faders and stuff. It was a funky place, but they cut Sandy Nelson's "Let There Be Drums" there. They cut "Born to Be Wild" by Steppenwolf. They cut a bunch of Three Dog Night hits there. So it was a well-used studio with lots of good stuff coming out of it. That first record did nothing though, for us. It did nothing.
Yeah, oddly enough, I mean, I'm sure in retrospect, after you guys had Picture This and the enormous success with sports, that people went back and looked at your earlier work. But there's definitely some really great stuff on this album. Now, Huey Lewis and the News was created by the formation of two bands that I heard, from what I understand, that broke up. Clover, which had Huey and Sean Hopper, and Soundhold, which had yourself, Mario, and Johnny, correct?
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about Soundhold, because everybody seems to know a lot about Clover, because Clover, I think, maybe had a little bit more commercial success. But tell us a little bit about Soundhold.
Well, we were a Marin County funk. We were a cover band first. We'd play a cover band that sprinkled in some of our own originals in the course of the evening. We played clubs all around the Bay Area, and actually outside the Bay Area as well, up in Northern California, Chico, Sacramento, Gilroy, Santa Cruz, San Jose, East Bay. We played clubs. We play 5 sets a night, 5 nights a week, 5 45-minute sets a night, and 5 nights a week we play. We do these residencies in these clubs. And then we just start hopping around there were so many clubs back then, so many venues, so many music venues to play, that you could actually book a whole 2-3 months of actual paid, you know what you're going to get paid. It was $150 for the entire band for a night, but you knew you were going to get paid. So it was, that's how we cut our teeth, really.
So you have Clover, which had Huey and Sean, and Soundhold that had yourself and Mario and Johnny, and then you enlist a young guitarist named Chris Hayes. How did you guys find Chris Hayes?
Chris was, let's see, how did we find Chris? That's a really good question. He was a friend of, he was Bonnie's brother. I'm not sure if we knew Bonnie before we knew Chris, though. Yeah, that's
Bonnie Hayes, in and of herself, is a very accomplished musician and rock star who, and is Chris Hayes' sister, correct?
That's correct. And she's, another part of the famously musical Hayes family, which has Kevin Hayes, the drummer who played with Robert Cray and Roy Rogers, and tons of great blues players, right? Kevin plays a lot and done a lot of sessions. But yeah, Bonnie's fantastic. The Wild Combo, it was Bonnie Hayes and the Wild Combo. They opened up our 4 tour for us, I believe. Yeah,
oh, sweet.
Yeah. But Chris, gosh, he was just a local kid who, he was local. That's how we ran into him. And somebody told us about him, I think. And he turns out his guy he was living with at the time we already knew. And I think Donald Moss introduced us, Chris's roommate at the time.
Sweet. Now, I also know that Chris has another relative. I bought an album like 20 years ago, and somebody from the Hayes family played on it. It was called Giant, the band. Does this ring a bell at all?
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I think was that his? Or was it Chris?
No, I think that was his. Does he have a younger brother by any chance?
Kevin.
Oh yeah, that's probably who it was. It was a cool album.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
No. Well, after you guys had your first album, self-titled album, Huey Lewis and the News, which I think came out in 1980, your follow-up album, was it in 82 that Picture This came out?
Yes, it was. Yep.
And on Picture This, there it is.
That's it.
You guys had your very, very first commercial success with Do You Believe in Love?
Right.
Tell me, how did it feel to hear your first big hit on the radio?
Unbelievable. First time I heard it, I was driving in my Volkswagen 1300 down Sir Francis Drake Boulevard in San Anselmo, and it came on the radio, and I had a funky little AM radio with, you know, a 5-inch speaker, and one 5-inch speaker in the Volkswagen over here on the left side. Turn on here, the intro starts. I went, shit, that's us. And I pull over, boom, stop, listen to the whole thing, and just, I mean, the feeling was fantastic, unbelievable feeling. Drove home and got on the phone and talked to everybody I knew.
You know, I think that's the most rewarding part of doing anything artistic. I tell you, Bill, when my first film, Mr. Hush, came out, I was driving my daughter, Amanda, who says hello, she loves you, and my wife driving us down to Disney, and we had to pull over in the middle of the night because we were having car problems. And we stopped in a hotel, and in the hotel parking lot was a Walmart Supercenter. And after I put my wife and daughter to bed, I walked into the Walmart Supercenter just to unwind from driving for like 18 hours. And it was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And just as I was walking through at like 2 o'clock in the morning, they were building the end cap for my film, Mr. Hush. And the feeling of joy and happiness that a stupid little thing that I made up in the hills of Pennsylvania somehow made it to Fayetteville, North Carolina, was greater than anything else that I experienced from that time forward. So I totally understand what you were talking about. It's just like unbelievable.
Recognition, finally.
Yes. It only took until I was 40.
Yeah. I was 27 when we started the band. Mm-hmm. I was 31 when I heard Do You Believe in Love? When Do You Believe in Love came out, I was 31 years old. Oh, wait a minute. 31. Yeah.
Now, on this album,
we were no overnight sensations. You know, we worked a long time before anything happened.
Yes. But when you did hit it, you went like meteor, you know, right to the top. Yeah. One other thing about Picture This that I wanted to ask you. The Only One, I know you're one of the co-writers on the song. It's always one of my favorite album tracks. Who was The Only One about?
The Only One was about a kid that we knew that went to our local high school. Everybody thought he was the coolest kid in school, right? Mm-hmm. But he had issues. And he was a rebel, tough guy. With issue, everybody thought he was so cool though, because he was a good guy, but his issues got the best of him. Hi, Beth Holleran from Massachusetts.
Yes, and I think she's one of the administrators to the great Huey Lewis group page.
I think she is too.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of their. I think every Huey Lewis in a news album is great, but what can I tell you?
Yeah. And that one was that's his true story. I know the spot where he walked out on the highway, and that was it. So,
it's funny. I'm actually one of those people who bought both the first album and the second album when they came out at Crazy Eddie in Middle Village, Queens. And when The Only One came out in 1982, and I was playing it on
Crazy Eddie's.
Crazy Eddie's. His prices are insane. When I got home and played that record, for some bizarre reason, I thought The Only One was about James Dean. Did anybody ever else give you that vibe?
No, everybody always asks the question you asked.
Because it kind of has like a James Dean rebel feel to it. And James Dean, of course, got decapitated on a highway. So that's where my warped, depraved mind went. So.
Oh, I see. No. This guy walked out into the middle of Highway 101 in Mill Valley and got boom.
Oof. All right. So on to nicer and happier things.
Yeah.
Picture This is released in 1982. Was the iconic album
Quarantine While?
Oh,
have you seen that? No, go ahead. Sorry.
Was Sports released in 83 or 84?
83, late 83.
All right. Now 1983 comes around. You guys have a hit with "Do You Believe in Love," and you drop what is considered in many circles one of the greatest rock and roll records of all time, "Sports."
Mm-hmm.
And it's a who's who of the great rock songs: "The Heart of Rock and Roll," "Heart and Soul," "Bad is Bad," "I Want a New Drug," "Walking on a Thin Line," "If This Is It," "You Crack Me Up," all the wonderful hits. Did it just shock the shit out of you that this became like the biggest thing for like 2 years?
Well, by that time, our rise had been on a steady upswing. You know, we went back. We toured with Loverboy, and we did a tour with 38 Special back in '82 and '83 behind the Picture This album. We opened up for those guys, and we were playing sold out arenas around the country every night. And it was our star was on the rise slowly. And we knew we had a good record with Sports. We knew we had something with Sports. So, you know, we thought, and people were saying, you guys will be headlining these arenas at the same time next year. And I said, that's what my production manager told me. I said, I couldn't believe it. I said, really? You think so? Yeah, oh yeah, no problem. You're on the way. And so when that happened, it wasn't that big of a shock because we knew we had something big. We knew the record was going to be. We knew we had gotten our foot in the door with "Do You Believe in Love," and now it's just a matter of following it up. And we knew we had done a really good job.
Now I had heard recently. Oh, sorry, Joe. Did you want to say something?
Well, I did actually. We have a member of the Brigade who is a fellow drummer who would like to ask a question if he could.
Absolutely.
Is this him, Chuck?
Oh, sorry. I thought he was coming on. I apologize.
Oh, no.
What is your preferred set to use on the road and in the studio, Bill? Is what Chuck Daniels is asking.
Right now, it's a Yamaha Recording Custom. I got the kit. I endorse Yamaha, and I endorse Zildjian cymbals as well. And I got that kit about maybe 3 years ago now. It's one of the new Recording Custom. When I first signed with Yamaha 35 years ago, I think 35 years ago. I had one of their I got an older Recording Custom kit, and I loved it, but it had the big deep toms. And now when I heard that they were going to be developing a new release of the Recording Custom kit, I've been kind of involved with those guys down there, Greg Crane and Daryl Anderson, and I go down and they have me sit at different snare drums, sit at different bass drums, and kick them and tell them what I think of each as they take notes, you know. So, and Steve Gadd was a big help in developing the new Recording Custom. So they had a lot of guys come in and check it out. And it was Gadd mostly, but they asked me to do it. So I did it a couple of times. It's a wonderful kit. It's the best kit I own. And I think I have 6 Yamaha sets, but right now it's the Recording Custom. I have it set up right out here in my live room, and it's wonderful.
Sweet. Now that, since we're talking about drumming and drummers, if you were going to make a Mount Rushmore of the 4 best drummers who ever played, who would they be?
They would be Buddy Rich, Tony Williams, Vinnie Colaiuta, and it's a toss-up between Dennis Chambers and Dave Weckl.
Sweet. Are you a fan of Kenny Aronoff's?
Yeah, I know Ken.
Stan Lynch?
Yeah, I know Stan. It's been a long time since I've seen him, but I have met him.
These are some of the drummers that I think are pretty awesome.
Yeah, but that's a different style. That's a different kind of deal, though.
Yeah.
when I talk about the greatest drummers that ever lived, I talk about technical proficiency.
No, I totally understand.
And you know what? In along with what you're saying, Levon Helm's one of the greatest drummers that ever lived too.
Yep. Were you a fan of Alex Van Halen's?
Very accomplished. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Great.
The thing about Van Halen is that they're one of those bands that you listen to a song for like 5 seconds, you're like, that's Van Halen. Yeah. And I think when you have a signature sound, that's always pretty epic, much like Huey Lewis and the News do.
Yeah.
Back to the epic 10 million selling all-time great album, Sports. I know this is a very, very tough question. It's like asking somebody who's their favorite kid. But if you had to pick your favorite track off of Sports, what would you pick?
Oh, man, you have no idea how many times I've been asked this question. I usually don't play favorites. It's such a subjective thing, you know. My favorite song on Sports. Wow.
It's you crack me up. I'll just answer for you.
well, no, actually, I have a better way of asking the question. What's the most fun song to perform for you?
Fun song to perform for me off of Sports. I would say that is probably I Want a New Drug.
Really?
Or,
no, I would always. Okay.
Or Honky Tonk Blues.
I would always have thought, because I've been to probably close to 100 of you guys' shows now, and the way you started for many years, all your concerts with the heartbeat of Heart of Rock and Roll, you just always look like you were having such a good time. But maybe you just have a good time playing all your songs.
Yeah, I have a good time being on stage. That's that's the whole deal. That's why, put up with airports and hotels and just that hour and a half, 2 hours on stage. That's makes it all worthwhile.
So you have a monumental blockbuster all-time hit with Sports.
Second biggest selling album of 1984, Sports.
Oh, wow.
Number 2.
Is Thriller number 1?
Thriller was number 1. Beat out Born in the USA, beat out Purple Rain, beat out Madonna.
And I actually think it is the best album of the year, but that's the hell do I know. You get done with having the enormous success with Sports, and then all of you guys are lucky enough to be called in to participate with We Are the World. Can you give us a little idea of what it was like to go to that recording session that night? Everybody has seen the video. Everybody has seen the making of that video. It just looks like it was like rock and roll music heaven. How'd you feel being there that night?
Like I was in rock and roll music heaven. R&B heaven. I'm standing here and Ray Charles is right there playing the piano. What I can die now, thank you very much. Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles singing at the piano. Forget it.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And that night, that recording session started at about 11:30 at night. It was the night of the American Music Awards that year. And everybody went to the Music Awards that started at about 5 or 6, I think, at the Shrine Auditorium in LA. That's when they had it, where they had them back then. We did the whole award show. Then everybody repaired to A&M Studios for the We Are the World session, which went all night into like 8, 9 o'clock the next morning.
Let me ask you something, and I don't need you to give me any names, but did you meet anybody that night who you were really excited to the opportunity to meet, but then you met him and were like, that person's kind of a schmuck?
Yep.
Really? It's kind of deflating, isn't it?
I'm not gonna name him.
No, that's fine. I wouldn't ask you to name him.
He's passed away. But
he has. Okay. All right. Then, after We Are the World,
everyone, I'll tell you a great story about that night. They gave us all sheet music, which I have in my office in my house, and I have it framed. They gave us all sheet music to the song, and during a break, all the artists went around the room and had all the other artists sign it, right?
Wow.
So that was unbelievable. That's how we met. Everybody met everyone, right? So yeah, you introduce yourself. Yeah, hey, Bob. You think I'm signing Bob Dylan's sheet music. He's signing mine. Paul Simon is signing mine. I sign his. Diana Ross. The Jacksons. Who's Bruce. Willie Nelson. You're saying hello to all the artists that you're in there with, just to kind of familiarize yourself, and that was really, really a highlight of that night for me, along with the singing, of course.
You could take that sheet music and probably buy and sell it and buy that private island that you've been looking at.
Yeah, more than likely.
Now, after everybody knows the enormous success of We Are the World and the wonderful things it did, a little bit after that, as I recall, you get a call from the band gets a call from Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg to do a song for Back to the Future. But a preamble to that is, and this is just a rumor. I may not know if this is actually true. You can Ivan Reitman, I think, and the people from Ghostbusters originally called you guys to do a song for that film.
That's right. Well, they wanted to use "I Want a New Drug."
Oh, okay.
They wanted to put "I Want a New Drug" in the movie Ghostbusters, and at the time, the song was number 6 or something like that, and it was a big hit, and we didn't need to have it in a movie, so we declined. So what they did was CBS went and hired Ray Parker Jr. to write a song that sounded like "I Want a New Drug." And he was a little too close on that one.
No, I understand. And I'm not trying to put you in an uncomfortable position. It's all
that's legal stuff. And actually we settled, by the way, we settled out of court on that case. And it's something the band can't talk about.
No, I understand. And when you guys then are approached by Bob Gale and Zemeckis for a song for Back to the Future, how did it come about that you guys gave him Power of Love?
Well, Zemeckis called Huey and said, "We'd love that. We're doing a movie. It's going to be called Back to the Future. There's the main character is this kid, and he's going to be from Hill Valley, which is actually Mill Valley, where they want to kind of take off on Mill Valley. And if he had a favorite group, it would be Huey Lewis and the News. So can you write, do you guys have any music that you can give us?" And we didn't at the time. But Huey said, we really didn't. And we've never written for a movie before, but I'll tell you what, we got it. We're working on some stuff now, and I'll send you the next thing that comes down the pipe. So that's what we did. Johnny and Chris were working on Power of Love. Huey wrote some words, and we sent it to them, and they loved it. And that's it.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes when you make a movie, there's just all the stars align, and like the perfect scenario falls into place. And
that's one of them.
Yes, Power of Love. In that movie only starts when it kicks into Power of Love and Marty runs out of Doc Brown's house and jumps on that skateboard and goes through Hill Valley on Power of Love blasting. It's just an amazing, amazing song. How many weeks did that stay at number 1? It was like an enormous hit.
It was big all over the world. It was really big everywhere.
I remember in New York City, you couldn't go from any radio station in 1985 without hearing either the beginning, middle, or end of Power of Love. So it was just amazing.
Yeah. Yep. It was they actually put it on our 4 album in Europe, and it's because it wasn't released. Well, Back to the Future took a while for them to get to England, so it wasn't released in England, but it was released there later than it was here. So,
and as somewhat of a film historian, I will say that one of the biggest travesties in Oscar history was not giving Power of Love the Oscar that year. Even though you guys were nominated, it was definitely the most played, the most recognized, the most well-structured, the best song in a motion picture that year. So
in my mind, there's no question, and most people I know, there's no question it was a better song than the song that won.
Yeah, it was just I remember watching. I think I was 14 years old. I was watching the Oscars that night just because you guys were on, and it was like a certainty that you guys were going to win, and I was just like, that was my first foray into disappointment in life.
And you know, great story about that. We played that year's Oscars. You know, we were on the show.
Absolutely.
We played Power of Love that year, and they had us where they had us seated was in the middle of the row, and Huey sits down, and Marvin Hamlish is sitting right in front of him, and Marvin Hamlish turns around and says, I see they got you some sorry about the award. You know, too bad you're not going to win. Something to that effect. Too bad you guys didn't win, or something like that." And he says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, they got Lionel sitting on the aisle, and they always placed the winners on the aisle so they could get up and get out easy." So, you know.
So now you know, if you're ever up for an Oscar again, if you're not set on the aisle, just leave.
Yeah.
Then after the great Back to the Future soundtrack, you also had Back in Time. That was a song you guys actually wrote specifically for the movie.
Correct. Sean wrote that for the movie. He said, "Hey, I think he'd already had that working on that for a while for the band." And he says, "Hey, I got this one." He gave it to Huey. Huey wrote words to it, and we cut it, and that was it. It was done.
Sweet. So they gave you, I guess they gave you like a pre-screener of what the film was going to be about, or a rough cut.
No, we didn't. We saw nothing when we recorded those songs.
Oh, wow. Because the movie is so specific.
They just took the songs just like you did. You took the song, put it in the movie. Except I had a chance to see yours.
Okay. After the great Power of Love and Back to the Future, your follow-up to the iconic sports album was another fantastic album, 4. And I see you guys started the album off with a Bruce Hornsby song, Jacob's Ladder. They went to #1. How'd you guys hook up with Bruce, and what made you guys record Bruce's song, Jacob's Ladder?
Huey produced Bruce's first demo tapes. The demo of The Way It Is, and a couple other tunes. Mandolin Rain, I think, was another one. Huey produced those demos that Bruce did to try and get him a deal. We met somehow. I can't remember how we met or how they met, but Bruce soon became a very good close friend of ours, and we had him to open our tours and stuff like that. And Huey helped him get his first record deal with The Way It Is, and. What was the question?
No, you answered it. It was just how you guys got connected with Bruce Hornsby.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one of my favorite Huey Lewis in the News videos are from this record. And whatever possessed you guys to do a Bride of Frankenstein type video? It was just so freaking awesome. We're doing it all for my baby.
That was Jeff. What was his last name? I am so losing it here in my old age. Jeff, the director of that video, it was his idea. And he wanted to recreate the scene of the heads in the sand of If This Is It, but in the Frankenstein thing, which we did. Right?
Yeah. In the jars.
In the jars, yeah. Specimens.
You know what's great about it, at the end of that video, Huey, he's playing Dr. Frankenstein, and Igor throws a switch. I think is Sean.
Yeah.
And Huey's head explodes, and he turns into the Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
And what's so awesome about that is that Huey bears an unbelievable, striking resemblance to Glenn Strange, who played Frankenstein in the original Universal horror films.
Yeah, that's right.
So he looks horrifyingly like Frankenstein.
I thought so too. It was amazing. And
Now,
Sean is the best hunchback that's ever, aside from the real guy.
Yeah, and I think that Mario probably was in heaven because, from what I understand, he's a big horror guy.
Yeah, he loved it. We were in the, that video took like 4 days to do, full, 16-hour days. And it was, we'd have to it was so much prosthetics involved that we had to be in a chair for hours before we could even do it. So we'd all get all made up and then be sitting around all day and in that makeup, right? So we had some fun with that.
Absolutely a great video and a great song. Another one of my favorites, if you could share anything about it, is I Know What I Like. It's one of the band's more rocky tunes. How did that song come together?
Chris wrote that song, and yeah, it was just a hard rocker.
Yeah,
with the great, and we got the 49ers to yell in the background, right? We sing Johnny, Chris, and I sang the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I like that, and in the back, and mixed into that are the San Francisco 49ers going, I know what I like. Right, so that's
who was that? Like Dwight Clark and Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana, as I recall.
Yeah, those three guys and Ricky Ellison, the linebacker, my buddy Rick.
Now you also had another great video, "Happy to Be Stuck with You," and there's a beautiful young woman in that who plays Huey's love interest in the video. Is that Pierce Brosnan's wife?
It is Keely.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. She was Keely Smith at the time, I believe, and then she married Pierce.
Yep. And did you guys get sick? A couple of you guys get sick filming that video in the underwater scene? I heard somewhere along the line when you guys were all suspended underwater.
No.
Oh, okay. What the hell do I know?
Rumors.
Rumors, yeah. Naturally.
Yeah. Good story about that scene.
What?
Down there in the Bahamas, you get these afternoon thunderstorms a lot, and so we're in the water, and clouds start rolling in. We've been in the water for an hour maybe, and all of a sudden, boom, lightning strike over there. They got us out of that water so fast you would not believe it. They just dragged us. These guys just absolutely dragged us out of the water. It was incredible how fast they pulled us out.
You guys look like you had so much fun shooting that video.
That was like you guys so much fun because we're out there. That island actually is the island in the opening scene to Gilligan's Island.
Oh, okay.
This shot from the water where you see an island off in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
That's that island, and they actually filmed parts of Gilligan's Island on that. But it was awesome. That was so much fun. Yeah, really fun.
So you have 4 follow-up sports. I think it sold between 6 and 8 million copies. Is an enormous hit. Then 2 years after 4, 1988, as I recall, you guys come out with Small World. Small World actually has my second favorite Huey Lewis in the News song on it. The album definitely, I'll get to it in one sec, is definitely eclectic, and it shows where you guys were trying to spread your wings and grow and to do something, musically interesting, and I will always admire you guys for that. But one of my very, very favorite songs of all times is Ol' Antones. I love that song.
I wouldn't have guessed that. Great song. That's Hornsby playing accordion on it.
You know what's weird about that song? It's one of the rare occasions that a song actually captures what a party feels like.
Right.
There are a lot of.
We wanted to get that Southern, like New Orleans, Texas blues kind of thing going. You know, we wanted to get that deep South kind of Cajun thing almost.
Absolutely. And there are of course songs that are party songs, but then there are songs that are the party, and Ole Antone's is the party. Small Worlds Part 1 and 2. You guys had the legendary Stan Getz join you.
The best,
give me a little,
possibly the best moment of my time with Huey Lewis and the News. Possibly. Certainly top 3 was watching Stan record that solo in the studio. It was unreal. We did 2 takes and kept the first one.
I can imagine. If you are a passive Huey Lewis and the News fan, or if you're just somebody who loves music, go out and get Huey Lewis and the News' greatest hits. And it's a track called Small World Part 2, because his solo is on Part 2, not Part 1.
That's right.
And listen to Stan Getz's solo on Small World Part 2, because it's if music is magic, it's absolutely captured on that track on Small World.
Yep, you're right.
And then you guys do something a little strange. You guys dabble in reggae on Bobo Tempo. How did that come together?
Well, Bobo Tempo was a tune that Clover had been doing forever. And we love jamming on it. So we got a bunch of our friends, and we did that song live. Everything is live. Everything is live, except for the percussion, which we went in and did when we sang. And we all sang. We had 15 guys in the room, all our local musician buddies, and the band and the crew and whatever crew was there. We had all of them. We cut the track all live, no overdubs. Then we went in and sang it and played percussion, and I love that. That's one of my favorite songs. I think that track is killer.
Yes, it's just something that, and I like, to be fair, when I first heard it, I was like, "What are they doing?"
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that's what made it cool. It's something that, like, one of my very favorite albums of all times is the Traveling Wilburys Volume 1. When I first listened to it, I was like, "What the hell is this shit I'm listening to?" Then I gave it another try, and I gave it another try, and I gave it another try. And that's the beauty of great music, is that you find new parts of it every time, and you grow to love it.
Well, that also proves the point that the more you hear it, the more you're going to like it.
Yep. Slammin' was a great instrumental track on here, and I think a part of every 80s sporting event. Whenever the Mets would end an inning and go to where they showed the runs, hits, and errors at the end of an inning, they always played Slammin'. And then what I saw,
they did it in Oakland too.
Yeah, it was a great song.
They did it in Oakland. They did it for the 49ers, I believe. A lot of teams used it. I heard it on CBS Sports. They used it on NBA basketball games.
Yep. Well, Small World, 1988, another multi-platinum, wonderful experimental record, more of an experimental record by Huey Lewis and News, but really just a great record. Then you guys...
If you think about it, all our albums were that way, though. There's very disparate in tune styles. On Sports, there was Honky Tonk Blues and Walking on a Thin Line.
Mm-hmm.
2 totally different kinds of tunes. On 4, there was Stuck With You and Hip to Be Square. 2 totally different kinds of tunes. So we were known for kind of throwing left turns in there. And that's what we do with Bobo Tempo and Small World.
Well, maybe that's why you guys sold 25 million records and have 19, top, because you are awesome.
Well, I'd like to think so.
After Small World, you guys took a little bit more time than usual. As I recall, I think Huey was even dabbling with maybe a solo record called Back in Blue. I remember that there was like a release date and everything, but it never came out. You guys got back, reconvened, and made the album that has my very, very favorite Huey Lewis in a New song. You made the great Hard to Play
Right.
in 1991. And, all these years I know you, Bill, I never actually got to ask you, tell me whatever you can, because this is truly what my favorite song of all time by any artist. I think Build Me Up is just such a great rock song.
Oh, cool. Johnny Kohler wrote that song. And we recorded that album out at Skywalker Ranch out here in George Lucas's place, out in Marin here. And the studio out there is just unbelievable. So John Williams gets a 100-piece orchestra and records in there. The room is massive, and you can baffle it off and, deaden it or make it as live as you want or make it as dead as you want. And the facility is second to none. Obviously, it's Skywalker Ranch. Mm-hmm. And so we did it out there, and it was great. The sound, I thought we were getting great sounds, and that was a bizarre time for us. We fired the first guy who we were going to produce it. We played it for the record company. They didn't hear anything. People kind of freaked out. They were so worried about us having another hit record that things kind of started getting a little dicey. The record's great. The songs on the record are really good. It's we sound great. But it kind of started getting lost in the bureaucratic shuffle there somehow.
It was also a weird time because it was like right at the cusp of the birth of grunge with like
Right.
Nirvana and
Yeah.
Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots.
Yep.
Smart adult music wasn't exactly like the hippest thing at the time, but
That's true.
you guys had It Hit Me Like a Hammer on here. Unbelievably a great song and a great video. You guys had what was the big hit on here?
Couple
days off. Couple days off. Yes. Fun video. Can you say tell us about shooting that video and how that came together?
We were in Miami for 3 weeks doing corporate shows for IBM. IBM was one of the first people we did any corporate work for, and they hired us to play every Tuesday and Friday night at the Fontainebleau Hotel, and they'd fly people in from around the world to put them up at the Fontainebleau, and then they'd have shows for them every night of the week, and we'd do Tuesday and Friday. I think Earth, Wind, and Fire did 2 other nights, and then so they'd bounce it up like that. But we were there for a long time, and while we were there, we had tons of time off, and we had that record. We knew that was going to be a single, so we decided to get a film company down there and film that video. Can't remember too much else about it, except they set up the cover of that album is not what it appears to be. That was they mocked up our rehearsal hall. Mm-hmm. And built a set of it in Florida, and we filmed it in front of that and took that picture in front of it too.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of any Huey Lewis in the News videos when Mario plays a police officer and pulls Huey Lewis over for driving too slow. It's just okay. Yep, Hard to Play, 1991, another gold record, another great rock and roll record. Then you guys convened, I think 3 or 4 years later, and you do 4 Chords and several years ago.
One of the best records we did.
I think I might blow your mind on this because I'm not sure it's one of my favorite Huey Lewis in the New songs. Even though it's a cover, I tend to like your original material better, and it's no disrespect, but I do.
Gotcha.
But I'm a big fan of Going Down Slow.
Unbelievable. Chris is magic in that song.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I talk about that song a lot when people ask me some of my favorite tunes. Mm-hmm. That was magic. That was all cut live too.
Yep, it was it's a great song, and you had 2 big hits with this. She's Some Kind of Wonderful, as I recall.
Yep.
But It's All Right. Both got a lot of airplay.
Yep.
And it's a tribute album that came out in the late 90s. It's a great record. Starts off with Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Yeah.
And it's some of, maybe some of the band's finest work as far as just playing. You guys really rock on this album.
Yep, I agree.
After Four Chords and several years ago came out, you guys released a greatest hits album called Time Flies. And on this greatest hits album, you guys had 4 new songs. And I have to say, 100 Years From Now was the new hit song off the record. But Till the Day After is just a great song. Great song you guys did.
Yeah, Sean and his partner at the time, Joe White, wrote that song. And yeah. No, I thought that was a good song too.
Yep.
I don't know
what question.
You liked it. That's good.
I certainly did. Joe Ridgely, my great producer, wanted to ask a question. Why isn't Forest for the Trees not performed live that often?
Because I don't think some of the other guys in the band like it that much.
There you go. Then in early, I think 2001, or is it 2, that you guys came out with Plan B?
Yeah.
Plan B, after, you guys had 4 Chords, and it was, I think, 5 or 6 years later, you guys came out with Plan B. Yeah. New material, fantastic album. The duet you guys did with I'm Not in Love Yet with Winona is just a great song. We're Not Here for a Long Time, We're Here for a Good Time is a great song. What can you tell us about putting this record together?
We cut that in our rehearsal space up in Terra Linda, California. And Johnny had a studio there at the time, and we just said, hey, why not do it here? Yeah, no problem. So we cut some of the basics for that up at the site, which our buddy Dick Methune owned, a beautiful studio. You wouldn't believe this place. It was unbelievable, out on a hill overlooking a valley in West Marin that was just spectacular. Well, we did some of the basics there. I think that's the best song I ever wrote is on that album, Perfect for You.
Oh yes.
That whole thing just came to me one day in my studio, and I wrote the whole arrangement, the horn parts, everything. And that played it for the guys, and they went, yep, okay, there's another one. And,
I remember running into you in Westbury, in the Westbury Music Fair.
Uh-huh.
And the show was running late because there was a terrible electrical storm.
Oh yeah.
And you guys had told me that while you guys were in the tour bus, you wrote Plan B. Was that a true story at the time?
Yeah, I think so. Because
you guys were like, hey, we were fiddling around on the bus while before the show because the power went out.
Yeah, that sounds.
And you guys came ahead and played Plan B. That's awesome.
That sounds all right.
But that's when you have talent. When you're just sitting around in the storm, you're like, hey, let's write a hit song.
We wrote. Johnny and Huey wrote "Heart of Rock and Roll" in the back lounge of the bus, driving out of Cleveland one day.
Wow.
We just played a gig at the Agora Ballroom. It was like in 1982. Just played a gig at the Agora Ballroom. It was great. The crowd was awesome. And we're driving out the next morning, going to the next city. And Huey says, God, the Heart of Rock and Roll is really in Cleveland, And Detroit and Cleveland, we're talking about the Midwest and how that was really where rock was huge in the States, And and Johnny had an idea, and he came up, and we had a little 4-track cassette recorder in the back lounge of the bus, and Johnny came up with the song really that day.
Wow. And now that you mentioned Cleveland, I have a great story I want to share with you. Every Christmas, my wife and daughter and I drive out to Cleveland, and we spend Christmas Eve in the A Christmas Story house, the great Christmas Story movie where, Ralphie wanted the Red Ryder BB gun. The actual house is right there in Cleveland. And I know all those wonderful places you had just mentioned. Cleveland's a really rocking town. But last Christmas, my wife surprised me with not only staying at the A Christmas Story house, we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame afterwards.
Uh-huh.
And Ivan, who is one of the people who are in charge of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I ran into Ivan and I discussed how unbelievably reprehensible it was that you guys weren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And what did Ivan say?
Ivan said, tell me why, other than commercial success, Huey Lewis and the News belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I go, well, they were influential on some of the biggest bands that are currently around. Huey Lewis and the News was a big influence on the Foo Fighters. I don't know if you know this, but Buck Cherry, the lead singer Joshua Todd, loves Huey Lewis and the News and actually made a song that's very similar to a Huey Lewis and the News song. Garth Brooks is a huge Huey Lewis and the News fan. I went on with like a 10-minute soliloquy, and he looked dumbfounded. And he's like, maybe we should consider them. I was like, consider them? They should have been in like 5 years ago. So that's the story I wanted to share with you.
Well, thanks for speaking up, because I too believe that we were influential. I get letters all the time from people, and I've run into artists all the time saying how we inspired them, So I don't. It's so political, and it's such a. It's a mess.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's a messy thing,
Yeah,
and would I like to be in it? Absolutely. I think we're more than deserving to be in there. But will it happen? It's been a political thing so far with the guys. Look how long it took the Doobie Brothers to get in. What does he say? We need to get Huey Lewis and News in there. Yeah,
yep.
They don't.
And Styx.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I think we've been plenty influential.
Oh, I mean, I think you guys would be in the top 10% tier of influential and important bands in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, I mean, it just becomes a point where it becomes silly.
See, that's why. But this Ivan guy thinks when he hears Huey Lewis and News, he thinks commercial success. That's it. But what about 40 years worth of longevity? You think a commercial, you think a guy who has a hit and he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
What about 40 years of playing for people who love us?
Yes, Lance Wagner said, like David said, Huey Lewis should have been in years. Huey Lewis and News should have been years ago. There's even a band that's very, very hip and contemporary that just within the last 6 months covered "Power of Love." I can't think the band's name, but they're one of the standard bearers of today's music.
Right. We play festivals sometimes. Well, we did when we were playing. But we play festivals with bands like, Portugal the Man and a whole bunch of new groups. And when they see us back there, they're like, get all nervous, and it's very cute. These guys that are huge at the time, they're like, oh man, well, it's very cute.
I remember for your anniversary tour, you were very kind enough to let myself and Brian O'Halloran from Clerks introduce you guys in New Jersey. And it's an honor that Brian and I will have forever. We were those geeks backstage, just like the bands you were talking about earlier. After Plan B, you guys do a Stax tribute album called Soulsville. I do not personally have a copy because I bet I met A's baseball game with somebody who I know who welched on sending me a copy of that record.
Ooh.
But I won't bring up that person right now. I did buy it, of course, on digital download. And
I did. Oh, yeah. My bad. I'll send you a new one if you want.
No, it's okay. I was just teasing you.
You have a copy of Weather? Yeah, you have a copy of Weather.
Oh, Winter. Yes, I'm coming up next. Great record. But I don't have a copy right in front. What's the first track on Soulsville? Oh, Don't Fight It, right?
Don't Fight It.
I love that song. You guys just really nailed Don't Fight It. You did. If anybody is into Stax music, seek out Soulsville. The band is shining on it. It's it's just a great record. Which brings us to the new record. Just dropped, what, about 2-3 months ago?
2 months, yeah.
Yeah.
3 now, yeah, right before the shelter in place.
Oh, yes, of course. Great timing, right?
Yeah.
It sucks, Bill. I had a film that was scheduled to drop in theaters on the end of May, and it got kiboshed because of COVID.
Of course, as everything.
So now it just sits in limbo, and got to wonder what the hell it's going to be done with it.
Well,
But
you know what it's coming down to? It's coming down to this. This is how we're going to see people for a while, I think.
Absolutely.
Which is great. It's I kind of like the late night shows because just like you're doing with me, you can see me and I'm at home, so I'm really comfortable.
Yeah, what's great about this show? Nobody wears pants.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure not.
Yeah, he's got no pants. I don't think Joe Joe, come back on for a second. Do you own any pants? Is a better question. No, I don't think so. Of course. All right. So the new album, Weather. That's time for the graphic, Joe. There you go. 7 songs.
Yeah.
While We're Young, Her Love Is Killing Me, I'm There For You, Hurry Back Baby, Remind Me Why I Love You Again, one of the better tracks on the record. Pretty Girls Everywhere, and One of the Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about While We're Young, because I know a friend of mine actually made a film about.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay.
I don't know. What am I missing?
Lindsay says, y'all ain't right.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. You're right. We aren't right.
Tell us about While We're Young.
John Pierce wrote that, came with the demo, brought it to the band, and let's see. Johnny took it. We thought it had promise. Huey wrote words. Johnny took it and wrote a verse section, and we just started working it up, and we played it live for years. Then we just kept working on John Pierce's demo. It went back and forth between the Bay Area and Los Angeles for 3 years, probably. And finally, that was it. Had Bob clear out and mixed them all up, and boom. Kicked the little chicks out of the nest.
A buddy of mine actually did an animated film that you guys had While We're Young in, but sadly the movie never seen the light of day. Did you know it was in a movie called Animal Crackers?
Yeah, Animal Crackers. Yep. It was supposed to be in that movie. Was it?
It was in the movie.
That movie came out.
It came out overseas. It never came out in the U.S.
That's right.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be a big thing. That was supposed to be a big deal here in the States, and it just fizzled. It never came out here. You're right.
You know what? What happened with that film is that it was done by an indie filmmaker, and they put a ton of money in, and really big stars were associated with it. But as with anything that threatens like companies like Disney and big studios, they do their best to squash things like that. So I know that the gentleman who was involved in that didn't have the best of luck of being treated fairly.
Right. Well,
so tell me.
Yeah.
You wrote Remind Me Why I Love You Again, correct?
I contributed, yeah. I rewrote.
One of my favorite songs on the record. What inspired you with that particular song?
Chris Hayes wrote music for that song, and he did a whole demo with him kind of lip skipping the lyrics, but it was like a slow. There was bluesy, Bonnie Raitt kind of bluesy. And Johnny didn't like it. Huey didn't really care for it. I thought it was killer. Yeah, that's just my taste. And I thought, well, what if we bring it up? What if we kick it up tempo? He says, and Huey said, well, go run with it. rewrite it. So I went and rewrote it. I did my own demo of it with that up-tempo deal. And I threw it to the wolves, as we do with all our songs. And Johnny kind of revamped some of the horn parts and one of the chord changes. And like that, kind of made it a little more organic. My demo was a little more modern sounding, more like While We're Young, kind of mechanical machine kind of sounding. And because I thought that was kind of the direction we were going to head. But Johnny made it more natural and organic with the horns and the, all that stuff, percussion and all that stuff. So.
And you guys came out with a video for Her Love Is Killing Me with Jimmy Kimmel and a whole bunch of stars. How did that come together?
Well, we thought it would be cool to just get everybody do it on an iPhone. Everybody's part's done on an iPhone. So that's what we did. And we called in favors to everybody we've ever met, any celebrity we ever known or met. And fortunately, they all said, yeah, of course we'll do it. I mean, that's a pretty stellar lineup. You got to
No, it absolutely is. And actually, some of them people who are in that video reached out to me knowing that you were on the show, and they all wanted me to say hello to you and wish you the very best. Especially John O'Hurley from Seinfeld. He's not in the video.
Cool.
Ray Abruzzo from The Sopranos.
Oh, great.
Wanted to wish you guys the very, very best.
Well, we wish them the very best. We're big fans.
Yep. So if you guys enjoy Huey Lewis and the News music, and if you're here, you enjoy Huey Lewis and the News music, don't walk, run out and buy Weather, because it's just a fantastic record. Even One of the Boys grew on me.
One of the Boys is the story of our band.
I know. I'm sorry. I just got a message from my producer, and that's why I paused for a minute. I was like, whoa. Yeah, and it's funny because it's kind of, the lyrics are somewhat somber, but somehow Huey he pulls it off not to sound somber. I don't know how he does that. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's a great record, and everybody should go out and get Weather. And can they get it on your website, on the Huey Lewis and the News website?
I'm sure they can, yeah. HueyLewisandTheNews.com.
Yep. Order it directly from HueyLewisandTheNews.com. Don't go on, get it in Walmart, unless you want the greatest hits disc that comes along with the Walmart copy.
We're not touring. It's our only income.
I'm sure, because you guys are beloved and have millions of friends, everybody suggests to you guys stuff. But because I have a moment here and because I'm just a moron, what do you guys think? Is there any possibility that you guys can lay down an a cappella record where you guys sing the backgrounds and then Huey can record with a headset with lower a cappella music behind you?
I think there's a possibility that we could record another album.
Oh, okay.
And have Huey on a good day, jury rig a monitor system. That when he's having a good day, he can sing. We did it once or twice at our rehearsal studio, trying to figure out whether he'd be having a good day, and he'd be in town first of all, and have a good day, and he would try to sing with the band. We've done this 2 or 3 times now in the last couple of years, and it didn't work until this one time when we just played music very loud over a loudspeaker, and he was having a really good day, and he heard it, and he sang in pitch, and he could hear it. So we've been talking about that. I think if he's having a good stretch of time where we could jury rig a good headphone setup, we could possibly cut more tracks.
Awesome. Please understand, it's just for my love of your band and for you guys all well-being. I was just hoping that something could be done.
It's what we do. Look where I am. I built a place so I could do that in.
Another question, that being a fan that I hear from a lot of fans, did you guys ever consider doing a Christmas record?
Yeah, we have. just as bad as much as we've considered doing an a cappella record. Which is not good.
Oh, okay.
It's a great idea, but maybe now is the time to do something like that. Finally a Christmas album, you know, or an a cappella album. Maybe now is the perfect time to attempt that. The only problem is we haven't been singing for 2 years. So it's going to take some time to get back into shape to do that. But we could do it.
No, absolutely. It seems like this, with where you guys are right now, it'd probably be the perfect time to attempt something like that. And the fans would absolutely love a Christmas album. And all the material's there for you. In closing,
we could do it remotely too.
That's very true. You have a beautiful, super talented daughter named Liv. She has a new record out. What can you tell us about Liv and what's going on with her?
Well, the new record's not out yet.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw a video, so I thought the record was out.
She and her producer buddy came up. I told you this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They came up from Los Angeles on March 13th to work here in the studio for a couple of days. They were going to be here till the following Tuesday. That was a Friday the 13th. They came up, and they were here over the weekend, and they were working. And now comes Monday night, and the shelter in place goes into effect. And I said, we were talking. I said, well, you guys have an option. You know, you can go back to Los Angeles to your apartments with your roommates and be kind of cramped and, you know, with really nothing going on, or you can stay here and work in the studio. So it didn't take much to convince them to do that. So they were here for 2 months. They just left last week, and they were here for 2 months. They wrote probably 6 tunes and recorded them all. I played drums on 5 or 6 of the tracks. They had tunes that they already had halfway done that they were bringing up from Los Angeles to work on. They finished those, finished all the vocals. It's not, now the producer guy is down at his studio in Los Angeles, home studio, mixing it. And Huey and I are going to try and get something going for her because it's really good. It's really, really good stuff.
No, absolutely.
And it's every bit as good as what's going on now commercially. So I just don't see a reason why that can't get played.
No, she's super talented, and I'd be honored to have her on our show one night.
I'm gonna tell her about you, and we'll set that up. She would love that.
That's awesome. Well, Bill, is there anywhere that fans of you or of the band can find your material? And another thing that you told me earlier that really rocked my world is Bill Gibson working on a little bit of a solo project.
Yes, I am. All stuff that I write, you know, that I've written for over the last 30 years that is not really suitable for Huey Lewis and the News, but just, you know, it's a lot of it's soundtrack music, instrumental stuff, weird soundtracky stuff, drum, but it's going to be tied together by drums. And I have a concept for it where drums start the record, goes into the first song, then it comes out of the first song with a drum bit that somehow leaks into the second song, and on like that. And so it's kind of the thread through the whole thing is different sounding drums, different types of drums, but all drum related. So along with music. So, you know, it's going to take a while. I'm doing it slow. I just built this studio, and I'm using it as a classroom for me to get better at recording and learning about how to do it and getting better at doing it. So I practice drums for about 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day. And yeah, like that. I'm having fun right now. And what a great place to be in isolation. I love it.
Well, Bill, thank you very, very much. Anytime that anybody, Liv or anybody in the band wants to come on to the Indie Brigade, we would be honored to have you. Huey Lewis and the News is everything to me. It's one of my favorite, inspired me to become a filmmaker. inspired me. I don't know if that might not be a compliment, but
well, I've known that for years, Dave, and I you've been a very outspoken critic of the band when they needed a kick in the pants. So you were when you were being very outspoken there, but when we first started,
yes,
going
it
back,
it was all done out of love, trying to get you guys
I know that now. I know that now. After you and your family a lot of times, and knowing the kind of guy you are, so yeah, it's all good, and I appreciate you having me on anytime. Whenever you need me, I'm there for you.
Thank you, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to have Mr. Bill Gibson on tonight. Seek out all of Huey Lewis and the News music. Seek out Weather, which is a wonderful album. Look for Bill's solo work, and look for his lovely daughter Liv Gibson's music. It's available on all the viral medias. Liv Gibson, check out her new video, and check out all of the new Huey Lewis and the News work. Bill, my friend, be well, and hopefully when you're on the East Coast, we'll catch a ball game together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when the dust settles, I got to make a trip back there and see everybody that I haven't seen in years. So.
I'll take you if you meet me in Boston. I'll take you to Atlantic Fish for dinner.
Fantastic.
Be well, Bill.
Love Atlantic Fish. Take care, Dave.
Be well, everybody.
Joe.
Nice to meet you. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Bill Gibson of Huey Lewis and the News.
Wow.
I'm flabbergasted because that stuff that was revealed tonight is actually going to thank you, Beth, for is going to make probably music magazines, and it was just unbelievable. Wow, flabbergasted.
Okay.
Yep, I know I mean, I'm sorry, you could have come in at any point, as you know, Joe, but I know you're a big fan, but I didn't really want to, interrupt Bill. He's just was such a wonderful guest, and the Huey Lewis and the News family is part of the Indie Brigade family, and big things will be happening. But Bill's a wonderful guy, and just a great musician.
We got this bald guy in the background. If you want to talk to him for a second.
I thought you said he wasn't available.
Well, he wasn't, but he needs.
Okay, I would love to. I would love to hear.
I don't know. It's like the sun or the moon. You got to see what direction it's pointing. And...
Hello, Mr. Romero.
Gentlemen, how are you?
How are you? Good.
I'm great. What a great show. What a great interview. What a nice guy.
Phenomenal guy.
All kidding aside, the guy has in part of one of the biggest bands in music history.
No doubt.
And he's, you see these bands that have one or two hits, and, they make such a big deal out of one or two hits. Can you imagine having 19 top 20s and 29 top 40s? It's just like everything you write is just like a blockbuster hit.
Yeah, I can't even fathom something like that. I mean, it's just crazy. But they did it.
Yep. Yes.
And there's literally, I mean, my son, he's 16 years old. He's got every Huey Lewis and the News album. And when he mows the lawn, which he loves doing, that's one of the things he listens to.
What's the greatest thing about that band is that no matter what is going on in your life, if you're having a bad day or they are just such uplifting, rise your spirits type music that it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lindsay. Oh, thank you, Beth.
So my question.
Yeah.
That I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Do they consider them? Obviously, he's not here now, but do they consider themselves crooners, or do they consider themselves rock and roll artists?
Well, I don't think they consider themselves crooners, because crooners are really like Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, and Bing Crosby.
Okay, but
people
they
who are
have
just
music
vocal
like that, though.
That's more like doo-wop. Yeah. Well, you got to realize that these guys are all were made it big at a later stage than most people usually do. I mean, Huey Lewis was a rock and roll icon and pinup guy that like 16-year-old girls had up in their rooms in 1985, but he was already 35, 36 years old at the time.
Right.
So their foundation, when they were kids, they grew up listening to 50s music, because they were born in the 50s. And they have a passion for like a cappella songs. So that's what made their album so interesting. You'd have 10 songs. Like there'd be like 4 hard rock songs. There'd be 2 a cappella songs. There'd be 2 ballads. There'd be reggae. It just pretty much everything. Just an incredible band. And we need to start a push to get them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because they.
Oh, I agree. I've seen who's gotten. Got in, and it's almost, I hate to say it, almost embarrassing, but I'm not going to go there.
Yep. And what Bill was saying is for years and years, they used to bust their hump like crazy because I wish they were, at the time, I loved the band so much. I wish they were more prolific and there were big spaces between the band. But I also understand that when you play 80 or 90 shows a year and when you're comfortable, that, getting the hits out aren't as important as they used to be. So I understand that too.
Okay, like Beth. Beth is...
Yeah, I think Beth is a big Huey Lewis and the News fan. And thank you so much for joining us tonight, Beth. And thank you for letting us stream it on your Huey Lewis and the News page. That was very kind of you.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yep. And I think he just dropped tonight live that he's looking to do a solo record. I think he let out some information about a possible Huey Lewis and the News Christmas album or a cappella album in the next few days when all like his millions of fans watch this show. A lot of interesting stuff was learned tonight.
That's really cool.
Just a tad. Yep. So,
well, I'm proud it happened on your show, and I'm proud it happened on the Indie Brigade.
Well, thank you so much for letting me play in your sandbox, George. You know that, and
welcome, David. You are a more than welcome member of this family and a brother. So
intricate part.
I appreciate that. All right, before we start kissing each other and blowing smoke up each other's ass, I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, especially everybody who crossed over from the rock and roll world and the Huey Lewis and the News world to watch us tonight. And when you guys watch us in the replays, thank you. Leave some comments and spread the word about the Indie Brigade, George's wonderful show that starts every Friday night at 9 o'clock, and then the end of the night, which starts at 11. We're going to have some blockbuster guests coming up in the future. George has wonderful things going on, all kinds of amazing things that will not only are informative, but are fun and just great pop culture stuff. So tune into this wonderful network.
So was that your closing? Was I supposed to pull up?
No, I will do my closing right now.
Oh.
Is that okay with you, Joe?
Did you write it down yet?
No, I'm going to go with something different because I don't remember the damn thing.
You screwed it up the last 3 times. So.
I screwed the pooch on that one.
That's why I keep mine.
All right, this is. I used to be a renegade. I used to fool around, but I couldn't take the punishment, so I had to settle down. It's hip to be square. Good night, everybody.